Chapter 760. Today's outbreak, the first update has arrived. The Heaven's Secrets sect of the 10 great immortal sects. As soon as the voice fell, the expressions of many sect elders in the main hall changed. Some of them could not help but exclaim in shock. The 10 great immortal sects were the true top forces of the human race. Just the 10 supreme divine artifacts alone were enough to suppress the fate of the sects. Their combat strength was comparable to unparalleled experts, which made countless sects gasp in amazement. Although the 10 great immortal sects did not reveal any forces on the surface, no forces in the universe dared to belittle them. The true sects all had their own Tao soldiers. These Tao soldiers were the mainstays of the sects. They had amazing combat strength and could be said to exist for battle. They were the most important part of a sect's strength. In the past, when the 10 great immortal sects made their moves one after another, it seemed like they had great momentum. However, they did not really use the foundation of the sects. The 10 great immortal sects had trained more than one type of Tao soldier. For example, the Tao soldiers trained in the Sky Sword Valley were even more notorious for killing. There were a few types of Tao soldiers that were the most famous, such as the Purple Cloud Sword Guards, the Iron Blood Sword Guards, and even the legendary Supreme Tao Soldier of the Sky Sword Valley, Green Lotus Sword Guard. These were all top-notch Tao soldiers that were trained with various secret techniques. They had extremely strong combat strength. These Tao soldiers were sent to the ancient battlefield of gods and demons as soon as they were selected. They were constantly slaughtered in the ancient battlefield and tempered their combat skills in the midst of life and death. Every qualified Tao soldier had climbed out from mountains of corpses and seas of blood. Their hands were stained with the blood of countless people. If one really wanted to calculate, any one of them could be said to be a great demon who had killed countless people. However, these Tao soldiers would not be easily used by the various large sects. The amount of resources required to nurture Tao soldiers was unimaginable. Legend had it that the Tao soldiers of the Sky Sword Valley were all Tao soldiers of swords. Their unique method of training Tao soldiers was to condense the sword body, plant the sword into the body, melt the sword, and change the bones of the body into sword bones, turning the Tao body into a supreme sword body. At this threshold, changing the bones of the body required a large number of high-grade battle swords. Every bone required the use of a high-quality battle sword. As for a good battle sword, the materials required were even more precious. It also required a large number of swordsmiths and so on. Every Tao soldier was built with a large amount of wealth. The 10 great immortal sects utterly didn't need to display their powers to be sufficient to stand towering above the numerous sects of the human race and enjoy a transcendent status. So how could they be ordinary? If it wasn't for their deep reserves, how could they possibly deter the myriad of living beings in the world? The cultivators in the hall were obviously stunned by the sudden arrival of the Heaven's Secrets sect. Zhu Xian stood up from the main seat and said with a smile, "So it's the Heaven's Fate sect's fellow Taoists. Zhu Xian didn't go out to meet you. I hope you can forgive me. May I know who you are from the Heaven's Secrets sect?" As he spoke, he glanced at the group of people from the Heaven's Fate sect. There weren't many people from the Heaven's Secrets sect who came in, only 3 of them. Among them, the one standing in the middle was a beautiful woman who wore a green palace robe and held a jade ruler that was as clear as jade in her hand. She had long black hair and a pair of eyes that seemed to be able to see through everything. Her appearance was devastatingly beautiful, and the jade ruler in her hand was the Heaven's Secrets sect's signature treasure. It was called the Heaven's Secrets life-seizing ruler. Only the direct disciples of the Heaven's Secrets sect who had cultivated the Heaven's Secrets godly radiating scripture to a high level would be able to condense it. Zhu Xian was very experienced, so he could see with a glance that this beautiful woman's status was definitely very important even in the Heaven's Secrets sect. He didn't dare to look too much and instead looked to the left and right sides. There was an old woman on each side, and there was a faint light in their turbid eyes. The aura they unintentionally released made Zhu Xian feel a burst of fear. Late-stage eternal giant. They were definitely late-stage eternal giants. Moreover, their magic power was much more refined than his. The most important thing was that these 2 old women, one on the left and one on the right, were clearly protecting the young woman in the middle. This made Zhuxian pay more attention to the young woman. Moreover, there was a hidden aura on the young woman that faintly concealed the aura around her. Even he couldn't see through her true cultivation at a glance. This was a distinct characteristic of cultivating the heaven's secrets, godly radiating scripture. I'm Xuanji. I heard that the black demon ancestor had issued a demon slaying order, so I specially came to help. I wonder if Senior Zhuxian would welcome me. The Xuanji celestial maiden's eyes seemed to be able to see through heaven's secrets. She glanced at Zhuxian and spoke with a calm expression. Her eyes were very strange. It was the unique eye technique of the heaven's secrets, godly radiating scripture, divine radiating eyes. Haha, so it's the Xuanji celestial maiden who has come. Who doesn't know about the heaven's secrets sect's divination technique? This time, with the help of the Xuanji celestial maiden, it will be as easy as pie to calculate the movements of the demon city. Even our demon-slaying alliance will be greatly honored. Please take a seat. Zhuxian was overjoyed. The addition of the Heaven's Secret sect would definitely increase the prestige of the entire demon-slaying alliance. In the future, the number of experts who heard about it would definitely increase greatly. The Heaven's Secret sect has come precisely for this. The divination of the movements of the demon city will be left to us. However, as for how to act, it will all depend on Senior Zhuxian and the elders of the various sects. The Xuanji celestial maiden smiled faintly and said flatly. For a time, the demon-slaying alliance's reputation soared because of the arrival of the Heaven's Secret sect. Some of the sects who had been watching on the sidelines, and even the experts among the itinerant cultivators, heard the news and were ready to take a share of the loot in the upcoming battle of the demon city. The influence of the 10 great immortal sects was not to be underestimated after all. For a time, the entire universe was shaken. Countless spies quickly spread the news to countless worlds. Amidst the myriad of worlds, there was a great 1,000 world that was filled with clouds and mist. The clouds moved and moved with the wind. It looked incomparably magical. The misty clouds made the entire world filled with a strange and otherworldly aura. It was like a fairyland. Under the clouds, the entire world was beautiful and beautiful. A large number of humans lived in it, and they had established various large and small countries. The number of ordinary humans in the entire world was probably no less than 10 billion. It could be said to be a flourishing and prosperous world. Above the clouds, there were palaces towering above the clouds. Thousands of clouds surrounded them, making them look exceptionally holy and pure. It made people yearn for them. Among these palaces, there was the most majestic one, the Towering Heaven Palace. This was actually a vast 1,000 worlds called the Towering Heaven Great World. In this world, the Towering Heaven sect was in overall control. Dong. A clear chime of a bell rang between heaven and earth. Then, an imperial edict echoed in the various palaces. Sect Master's Edict, Towering Heaven sect disciples can wait for an opportunity to join the demon-slaying alliance. Third Elder Yi Xian will lead them to break into the demon-slaying alliance and kill the Avilders in the demon city. Sect disciples should take this as an honor. As soon as the imperial edict came out, a large number of Towering Heaven sect disciples in the countless palaces moved. Near the Towering Heaven Palace, there was a palace with a plaque that read Soaring Cloud Palace hanging on it. In the palace, a strange crystal disc was spinning in mid-air. On the crystal disc, mystical runes appeared and intertwined together, emitting a strange charm. The power of space and time spread out from the crystal disc. Inside the crystal plate, there was a faintly discernible independent space. From the outside, one could see that there was a handsome young man dressed in a snow-white robe. He was sitting cross-legged inside, holding a simple and unadorned sword in front of his knees. He held the sword with both hands. Waves of Fa Li poured into the sword from his left hand, then passed through the body of the sword and returned to his right hand, entering his body. It turned into strands of pure sword qi. On the battle sword, there were countless figures of demons howling in pain. Whoosh! Letting out a long breath, Zhong Yunfei slowly opened his eyes. A bright light flashed across his eyes as he murmured to himself, "My monster-slaying sword technique was created by my ancestors in the ancient times. It's extremely powerful. The more monsters I kill, the better my sword cultivation will be. The Demon City is a place where countless monsters gather. It's the best place for me to improve my cultivation. Maybe I can see Chu Yun again. I just didn't expect Chu Yun to be the princess of the eternal imperial dynasty. He suddenly stood up, and his aura circulated as he exited the crystal disc. With a casual wave of his hand, he carefully put the crystal disc back into his body. From the aura he inadvertently leaked out, one could see that his cultivation had reached the Immortal Emperor realm. Although he had just entered the Immortal Emperor realm, with the time he had spent cultivating, this level of improvement was simply shocking. Fortunately, I'm also a person with great luck. I actually obtained this universal disc in the God's Fall Abyss. With its power to reverse space and time, I can reverse time. With time, there will definitely be a place for me in the origin world. Zhong Yunfei's eyes were deep, and there was a kind of perseverance in them. In the secular world, in the Zither Melody Valley. At this moment, the Zither Melody Valley had already disappeared from the secular world. In the valley, a gentle breeze blew, and the purple bamboos in the bamboo forest swayed, letting out a crisp and beautiful bamboo sound. It permeated the air, bringing with it a unique concept. In the Qin clan's manor. In the hall, the Qin clan's patriarch, Qin Xian, whom Di Shitian had met before, was sitting in the hall. His body exuded a scholarly aura, as if he was an elegant scholar. In the hall, a middle-aged scholar saw him and said with a smile, "Congratulations, big brother, for recovering your cultivation and returning to the Eternal Overlord realm." This scholar was the one who had met Di Shitian in the Sky Demon secret realm. He was also Kotomi's third uncle. His name was Qin Buchuan, and his temperament was somewhat frivolous. He liked to play in the human world. Third brother, this time, the reason why our Qin clan was able to temporarily free ourselves and didn't need to waste our essence to suppress the demon god, allowing us to recover from the drop in our cultivation. It was all because of Demon Emperor Di Shitian temporarily suppressing the demon god with his boundless power of will. This favor must be returned. Qin Xian raised his head to look at the void and said in a deep voice. When Qin Buchuan heard this, his expression turned serious. He nodded and said, "Big brother's words are reasonable. Our Qin clan has no ungrateful people. This favor must be returned. Now that Di Shitian has been severely injured, and his life is unknown. The Demon Suppression Alliance is obviously unfavorable to the Demon City. This time, you will lead the elites of our Qin clan and wait for an opportunity to go. If the Demon City is in danger, do not neglect and lend a hand." Qin Xian pondered, paused, and then said, "Take that girl, Kotomi, with you." "Yes, big brother." Qin Buchuan nodded in agreement. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com and read more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 761. Second update. Continue with the third update. In the depths of the dreamy cloud swamp that was filled with miasma and poisonous gas in the purple gold mainland, there was a pitch-black swamp that was filled with filthy qi. The living beings in the surroundings were extinct, and there were countless corpses floating in the swamp. Even birds couldn't cross such a swamp from the sky. They would be poisoned to death by the poisonous gas in the swamp, and their bodies would be corroded by the miasma. But here, there was actually a pitch-black palace standing in the swamp. From all directions, all kinds of filthy qi surged into the palace like a tide. In the palace, countless figures of demons and demonesses appeared, and they emitted demonic sounds that could steal souls. In the swamp, the souls that had sunk into oblivion quickly gathered from all directions under a mysterious summon. They entered the palace like swallows returning to their nest, and they were quickly turned into demons and demonesses by the pure demonic qi. Vast amounts of demonic qi gathered in the palace. In the palace, a young man with demonic marks on his face and demonic qi opened his demonic eyes. The demonic light in his demonic eyes seemed to be able to see through the heavens and the netherworld in an instant. Huang Quan. Demon Slayer Alliance. How can I, the Great Freedom Demon Lord, be left out of such an interesting matter? I didn't expect that the little demon from back then would be a demon emperor now. His eyes gleamed with a faint devilish light. This young man was none other than Wan Dao. He had fused with the Great Freedom Heavenly Devil and obtained the inheritance, directly becoming the new Great Freedom Devil Sovereign. He reached the heavens in one step. He cultivated the Great Freedom Sky Demon and specialized in the Demon Heart technique. His demonic cultivation technique was extremely strange. Heaven Realm, Ancient Emperor Dynasty. In the Third Prince's Palace, a young man with a cold and emotionless face was seated on a throne. Above his head, a vast true dragon purple cloud continuously rolled down like a tide. Beside him, 8 lifelike true dragons were swimming around, devouring the pure true dragon purple chi without restraint. Whoosh! All of a sudden, the true dragons returned to his body and opened his eyes. Ju Wu Qing opened his cold eyes and shouted, "Pass down the order. Assemble the royal guards and the merciless heavenly ship. Prepare to go to war with the demon city. This crown prince will definitely wash away the shame of the past." In a nameless cave dwelling, there was a blood pool. Inside the blood pool, a young man with a head full of blood hair suddenly laughed strangely. This god has seen Di Shitian before. On the surface, he doesn't look like an emperor who will die halfway. However, this god has no qualms about joining in the fun. TSK, I like battlefields. Xue Yini's lips curled into a devilish smile. The various factions in the heavens and realms became restless after learning about the establishment of the Monster Suppression Alliance. In particular, it was rumored that the Demon Emperor had already fallen. They could no longer suppress their thoughts, and they all began to act. The clouds moved in all directions. Pairs of eyes with greedy expressions landed on the demon city. In their eyes, the current demon city was like a huge treasure mountain. Everyone wanted to rush up and get a share of it, but they didn't care if they would break a tooth or two because of it. A strange atmosphere spread across the heavens and realms. On the other hand, the myriad demon city was following the orders of the demon empress, Chen Shi. It was drifting aimlessly in the endless void, shuttling back and forth without stopping for a moment. Chen Shi had already predicted that there were probably people in the various worlds who were starting to lose their patience. At the same time, he constantly urged the demons to enter the exquisite pagoda to cultivate. Time flew by. In the land of exile. Gradually, 3 months passed quietly. In the quiet room of the Sky Pillar City residence. The Imperial Jade Archive spun in the air, absorbing the vast carnate essence chi between heaven and earth. The Jade Archive emitted a mysterious heavenly sound of the great Tao. In the heavenly sound, there seemed to be a supreme deity preaching all kinds of great Taos and countless exquisite techniques and abhinas. Under the Jade Archive, a pitch-black star immortal slaying flag stood still. In the flag, there was an endless starry sky. In the center of the starry sky, there was a huge demon body that was 60,000 feet tall standing proudly. Outside the demon body, there were eternal divine rings that constantly revolved around it, emitting strange sounds of lust. The sounds of sorrow, anger, and joy intertwined. Looking at the demon body, there were a total of 4 eternal divine rings floating around it. The first eternal divine ring exuded endless sorrow. In the divine ring, there were 6 eternal divine spirits standing, their faces filled with sorrow. The divine ring was like glass, as if it was real. This was the halo of sorrow. The second eternal divine ring exuded endless anger. In the divine ring, there were 6 eternal divine spirits. The appearance of the holy spirits was similar to Di Shitian, but between their brows, there was endless anger. That was the anger of an emperor. The divine ring was as solid as glass. It was the halo of wrath. The third immortal divine ring was filled with boundless joy. Inside the divine ring, there were also 6 immortal holy spirits. Their faces were filled with joy. The emperor's face was filled with joy, and everyone was celebrating. The divine ring was as solid as glass and emitted a purple-gold divine light. This was the halo of joy. And the fourth eternal divine ring exuded an aura that seemed to want to devour everything. It was as if it wanted to eat all the delicious food in the world. Desire spread out, and within the divine ring, there were billions of delicacies. One look at it and one couldn't help but want to eat it. Immersed in the endless delicacies, it was the halo of taste. However, this eternal divine ring wasn't completed yet. The divine ring was flickering between reality and illusion, but it still exuded the charm of indestructibility. Huff! Di Shitian exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, which turned into a hurricane that swept towards a star not far away. That star suddenly turned into dust in the hurricane. A boundless pressure was naturally emitted from the demonic body. The pressure caused the surrounding space to faintly show signs of distortion. When he opened his eyes, traces of light could be seen faintly in his eyes. But between his brows, there was a strange charm. Close to 900 years of seclusion. In this banished land, it's really the best place to cultivate Xiantian essence qi. This is a treatment that only existed in the ancient times. Di Shitian muttered to himself, secretly yearning for the ancient times. From the banished land, he could already understand how prosperous the ancient times were. Xiantian essence qi and acquired essence qi were indeed fundamentally different. No wonder there were so many amazing prodigies in the ancient times. In the past 900 years, using the imperial book of Shocking the World, he continuously absorbed Xiantian essence qi. At this time, looking at the 10th rank Black Lotus in the demon abode, he saw that the originally empty Black Lotus was now filled with pure purple gold true power. The boundless royal true power filled every inch of space within the Black Lotus. Within the 10th rank, waves of pure desire power intertwined like a liquid. It contained endless fear and desire. In his body, on the 10th demon vein, the entire demon vein had been completely opened. The instant divine essence inside had been completely refined and sent into the heavenly punishment divine eye. On the demon vein, the 9 imperial true apertures were spinning, absorbing heaven and earth essence qi. They were completely connected with the other demon veins that had been opened. In the past 900 years, with the help of Xiantian essence qi, he had broken through all the barriers and gathered the vast true power needed for the 10th rank. He had broken through to the peak of the ancient demon saint. I'm at the peak of the ancient demon sage level, Yang Qi said. With my battle prowess, divine abilities, and the ultimate emperor indestructible body and undying god ring, I wouldn't even be afraid of ancient heaven demons. It's a pity that I missed a great opportunity to achieve the immortal body. Di Shitian felt the changes in his body. An endless power emerged in his heart. His entire demon body had almost reached the level of an ancient demon saint. Originally, when he cultivated the immortal body to the 3rd level, he could use the power of the immortal divine ring to merge his flesh, blood, bones, and will into one to achieve the immortal body. However, because his entire mind was immersed in deducing the cultivation technique, he missed a good opportunity. Only when the 4th undying divine ring was completed and the 5th undying divine ring would he be able to obtain an undying body. Where there are gains, there are losses. Compared to the cultivation method I created this time, missing out on an opportunity is nothing. Di Shitian's face was resolute, and his eyes were deep. This time, it took him 900 years, using tens of thousands of hand, claw, and palm-type battle techniques as the foundation, to finally create a battle technique, the ultimate emperor creation palm. It had 9 forms, and each form had unparalleled power. Then, he combined all kinds of movement techniques, footwork, and even the 8 desolation steps to create the ultimate emperor heaven fighting steps. Now, the ultimate emperor shocking the world contained the ultimate emperor tyrant heart mantra, the ultimate emperor indestructible body, the ultimate emperor wish change, the ultimate emperor divine light, the ultimate emperor way, the ultimate emperor seal, the ultimate emperor creation palm, and the ultimate emperor heaven fighting steps. 8 types of ultimate techniques. Mastery through comprehensive study, and combat power sword. In terms of spirit wine, he had brewed 5 new spirit wines, Return of Spring Immortal Wine, 5 Flavor Immortal Wine, Star Osmanthus Wine, and Underworld Peach Blossom Wine. These 4 were recorded in the Wine God's Treasure Encyclopedia, and the last one was directly changed from the Longevity Pills recipe, the Longevity Immortal Wine. 1 type, 5 types. And the last one was the recipe for the resurrection wine. Yes, without the resurrection grass, he couldn't continue to brew it. 3 months are almost up. It's time to go to Fengju's appointment. With a thought, his whole body shrank rapidly, and in the blink of an eye, he shrank to his normal size. He turned around and left the Star Immortal execution flag. With a wave of his hand, he put the flag back into his body. He glanced at the Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive and sent it into the Nether prison. He said to Dark, "The great Tao talismans in the archive still need you to keep imprinting various techniques." "Perfect, the great Tao talismans. Just leave this matter to me. You don't have to worry, I'll definitely do it properly. Even I can't count the number of techniques and secret techniques recorded in my mind." In Nether prison, Nether appeared in front of the Jade Archive of the Emperor Realm with a "don't worry" expression. He condensed words with his will and spat out cultivation techniques, imprinting them on the jade disc. As soon as these cultivation techniques entered the Jade Archive, they were quickly absorbed by the various great Tao talismans in the Jade Archive. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author and support the original reading. Chapter 762. Third update, June 1st, is Children's Day. A new month has arrived. Brothers who have guaranteed monthly votes, please help to vote for me. As soon as he came out, Sakura came out of the mansion and transformed into a golden-winged rock that was shining with golden light. He flapped his wings and flew towards the direction of Ghost Valley. Inside the Ghost Valley, every level of the Ghost Valley was filled with a large number of malicious ghosts. Countless souls appeared in the Nether River. Under the power of the Nether River, they quickly condensed into malicious ghosts and entered each level of the Ghost Valley. Fengju City. The security was extremely tight. Numerous ghost generals and ghost soldiers wore pitch-black armor and held weapons in their hands. They patrolled the city walls in an orderly manner, giving off an invisible deterrent force in the surroundings. At this moment, in the back garden of the Fengju Imperial Palace. However, it was not as eerie as he had imagined. Instead, it was a scene of birds chirping and flowers fragrant. All kinds of exotic flowers and herbs were planted in a regular pattern everywhere. Rockery, lake, everything that one could think of was there. On the lake, there was a pavilion. In the pavilion, there was a table of sumptuous food and wine, and it was filled with a strange fragrance that made one's appetite wet. Looking at the plates of delicacies, there were dragon livers, phoenix gallbladders, and rare treasures. Every plate of delicacies contained the concept of reincarnation. In the pavilion, Di Shitian sat opposite the Ghost Emperor of Fengju, who was wearing a royal robe. Whoosh! The Ghost Emperor of Fengju slowly opened his eyes. There was an indescribable charm on his face. He looked at the many delicacies in front of him and sighed. In ancient times, I heard that the reincarnation divine spirit tree could intercept the reincarnation force of heaven and earth. It could intercept the essence of all living beings in the universe and bear unique reincarnation fruits. However, it was rumored that this carnate spiritual root was obtained by myriad calamity ancestor. I have never had the chance to taste it. I didn't expect to have the chance today. This reincarnation comprehension is indeed worthy of the name. He paused and looked at Di Shitian in front of him. He smiled and said, "Brother, you are really lucky to obtain this supreme treasure in myriad calamity ancestors' cave. Big brother, you flatter me. These are all coincidences." Di Shitian didn't become arrogant because of this. After pondering for a while, he asked, "In your opinion, what is the myriad tribulations ancestors' plan for releasing so many treasures in the door of all tribulations?" Sakura came as promised during the 3-month agreement. Fengju Ghost Emperor was indeed like what Ming had said. He was a strong practitioner with a genuine temperament. When he saw Qin Mu, regardless of whether it was his words or his actions, he treated Qin Mu as a brother. Di Shitian wasn't stingy either. He took out the reincarnation fruits from the reincarnation divine spirit tree and gave them to the imperial chefs to cook a table full of delicacies. Naturally, the origin of the sacred spirit tree of reincarnation couldn't be ignored. The ghost emperor of Fengdu also found out about what happened in the Myriad Tribulations cave. At this juncture, Di Shitian took the opportunity to ask about the sudden gift of treasures in the door of all tribulations. The ghost emperor of Fengdu ghost emperor's eyes flashed with wisdom. He said, Myriad Calamity Ancestor's realm was already at the peak of unparalleled experts in the ancient times. He could be said to be immortal. Although he was besieged by many experts of the demon god continent during the Great Calamity back then, it's almost impossible to kill a peak unparalleled expert. It's not surprising that he didn't die. He set up the Myriad Tribulations cave just to set up a trap for his resurrection. He directly revealed Myriad Calamity Ancestor's goal. As for the treasures that came out of the door of all tribulations, I guess he set up a maze. Set up a maze? Di Shitian said in surprise. Myriad Calamity was an unparalleled fierce god in the ancient times. His actions were never restrained. He was domineering and his methods were even more ruthless. He made many enemies. He was severely injured in the ancient times. Now that he wants to be reborn, this period of time is when he's at his weakest. Any unparalleled expert can pose a fatal threat to him as long as they find him. As long as the news of his rebirth spreads, if his enemies are still alive, they will definitely seek revenge. The Ghost Emperor of Fengdu Ghost Emperor said calmly, if I'm not wrong, Myriad Calamity must have left some kind of hidden aura in the treasures released from the Myriad Tribulations cave. With these treasures, he can temporarily divert the attention of his enemies. He shook his head. Myriad Calamity Ancestor really had enemies everywhere back then. No one would let go of such a good opportunity to add insult to injury, as expected of an unparalleled fierce god. Sakura sighed in his heart. To be able to have the determination to give up all the treasures, this myriad tribulation, in between giving up and giving up, could be said to have comprehended thoroughly enough. Shitian, after meeting you this time, I will leave the land of exile. Suddenly, the Ghost Emperor of Fengdu Ghost Emperor looked at Di Shitian calmly and said, Big brother means that you can take me with you. Di Shitian instantly understood the meaning behind his words. With the Ghost Emperor of Fengdu Ghost Emperor's peak strength, it was not difficult for him to leave the land of exile after waking up from the Nine-Dragon Emperor coffin. It was even easier to shatter the void. Now, the annihilation tide is coming. The war between the origin world and the demon god continent will definitely start again. Moreover, I have yet to fully recover from the heavy injuries I suffered. I even transformed into the ghost demon body. I must leave the land of exile and wait for an opportunity to recover. The 100 Ghosts parade painting was severely damaged because of the breakout. I need to find a yin world secluded spring to repair it. Big brother can't stay in the land of exile for long. The Ghost Emperor of Fengdu Ghost Emperor did not hide his situation and said with a smile, the land of exile is extremely strange. It is an independent world independent of the origin world and the demon god continent. The rules of heaven and earth are even stranger. Once you reach the level of an unparalleled expert, you can't enter this place from the outside world. If I had not been sleeping in the emperor coffin and brought along by the 100 Ghosts parade painting, I wouldn't have been able to enter. Therefore, once I leave, I'm afraid I won't be able to return in the future. The meaning behind his words was very clear. If he wanted to leave, now was the best opportunity. Di Shitian heard this and muttered to himself. If he was alone, he would not hesitate to leave with the Ghost Emperor of Fengdu Ghost Emperor. However, he was not the only one here. There was also a large group of demons. The plan in his heart had just been laid out. Leaving now was not what he wanted. He thought to himself, no, although the land of exile is strange, it is the best place to train. I have the blood altar to connect the two worlds and summon heroic spirits. The situation here is not stable yet. The city of exile and demonic capital are both unstable existences. I still have to slaughter the 9-headed poisonous Jiao Dragon Emperor and brew spiritual wine to cure the poison in my mother's body. If I leave now, The gains will not make up for the losses, he thought to himself, and quickly weighed the options between leaving and staying. In the blink of an eye, with his decisive character, he had already made a decision in his mind. He raised his head and looked at the Ghost Emperor of Fengdu. Ghost Emperor. The land of exile is not my cage. When I want to leave, I will use my own strength to shatter this void. I appreciate Big Brother's good intentions. There was no hesitation in his words. When the Ghost Emperor of Fengdu Ghost Emperor heard this, he did not blame him or even try to persuade him. He only smiled faintly and said, "Now, after we part today, we can only meet again in the land of origin. Take this as a greeting gift from me as your big brother. You can open it when you return." It was as if he had already expected this situation. He flipped his hand and placed an ancient jade box on the table. He pushed it in front of Di Shitian. "Since it is a gift from Big Brother, it would be impolite for me to refuse." Di Shitian did not hypocritically decline. He calmly took the jade box in his hand and put it back into his body. In the gazebo, delicious wine and delicacies, a relaxed and peaceful conversation. A faint friendship reverberated in the air as they talked about all kinds of strange things in the universe. The atmosphere was harmonious, and time passed quietly. After a full day, Di Shitian finally left. After watching Di Shitian leave, the Ghost Emperor of Fengdu Ghost Emperor sat upright in the gazebo. A light flashed beside him, and the iron-faced judge suddenly appeared. He was slightly surprised and puzzled. "Your Majesty, previously you said that you could bring him out of the land of exile. Why did he refuse?" Since ancient times, the number of people who have been able to leave the land of exile can be counted on one hand. The Ghost Emperor of Fengdu Ghost Emperor smiled faintly and looked into the distance. He sighed and said, "This brother of mine is not an ordinary person. He has great ambitions. He is shouldering the rise of the entire demon race. This land of exile will definitely not be able to trap him. Once he shatters the void, he will definitely roam the 9 heavens. His achievements will not be inferior to mine. Moreover, since ancient times, he is the only one who can gather the 7 emotions and 6 desires in one body. Even with his experience, he couldn't see through this new brother of his." The friendship between brothers was based on the heart. Although they had only met for a short time, he could clearly see Di Shitian's temperament. In the Ghost Emperor of Fengdu Ghost Emperor's heart, he really recognized this brother of his. However, there was no need to say this directly. He only needed to look at his actions. "Inform everyone that we will leave the land of exile in a month." Di Shitian left the Ghost Valley. He did not say anything to persuade the Ghost Emperor of Fengdu Ghost Emperor to stay. Indeed, if he stayed in the land of exile, it would undoubtedly give him a backer. However, forcing the Ghost Emperor to stay was not something he was willing to do. "You have to rely on yourself for everything." This sentence echoed in his heart. After returning to Sky Pillar City and entering the City Lord's mansion, he immediately entered his inner world. Quickly open that jade box. With the identity of the Ghost Emperor of Fengdu Ghost Emperor, since he gave it to you, it must be an extraordinary item. As soon as he entered the inner world, Ming rushed out of the nether prison and came in front of him. He stared curiously at the ancient jade box. He was very interested in the Ghost Emperor's gift. Whoosh! He casually opened the jade box. Strange rays of light bloomed from the jade box. Hiss! When Ming saw the item in the box, he could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. His 2 dragon eyes emitted a resplendent divine light, and his expression was full of shock and excitement. TSK, the Ghost Emperor is indeed the Ghost Emperor. He is indeed not stingy to you, a brother who saved his life. However, this gift is really not an ordinary kind of gift. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 764. You win some, you lose some. It seems like the Ghost Emperor of Fengdu really sees me as a brother. Di Shitian took a deep breath and looked at the treasures in the jade box. Although the jade box was not big, the space inside was not small. There were also many things inside. There were a total of 6 jade boxes. The jade boxes inside were very strange. 7 colored light flowed on the surface of the jade boxes. There were countless mysterious patterns on the surface. The patterns seemed to contain a strange power. It was like a mysterious restriction that imprisoned the items inside the jade boxes. 7 glow psychic jade. It's actually a psychic jade box made of a rare treasure like the 7 glow psychic jade. Such a psychic jade box was specially used to store all kinds of treasures in ancient times. When placed in a psychic jade box, not only can it isolate all auras, but it can also nourish the treasures inside. If it's a spiritual essence, it can greatly increase the charm of the spiritual essence. These 6 jade boxes are all psychic jade boxes. There must be a lot of precious treasures inside. Ming's eyes lit up. Although he did not see what was in the 6 psychic jade boxes, just these 6 psychic jade boxes alone could be said to be 6 extraordinary treasures. Things that could be stored in these boxes would not be ordinary. He could not help but feel endless anticipation. This is good stuff. This 7 glow psychic jade was a kind of divine jade in ancient times. Even the psychic jade was refined from it. The jade contains the purest power. The power inside will definitely be able to release mother-in-law from the jade seal. A thought flashed through Di Shitian's mind. He immediately determined the use of the 7 glow psychic jade. All these years, he had been searching for all kinds of precious treasures. He had sent all those precious treasures to the 10,000-year-cold jade bed where Yaroyu was sleeping so that she could absorb the power of the jade. However, Yaroyu's cultivation technique was too strange. Once the jade was sealed, it could not be unsealed without the divine power contained in the divine jade. It was not difficult to find divine jades in ancient times. However, it was extremely difficult to obtain them now. And this 7 glow psychic jade happened to be a kind of divine jade. Fengdu Ghost Emperor sighed in his heart. He had casually given a big gift. And it was exactly what he needed. Lunatic Di, quickly open it and see what treasures are inside. Nether couldn't hold back her curiosity and hurriedly urged. All right. Di Shitian nodded. Without any hesitation, he stretched out his right hand towards the first psychic jade box and took it in his hand. He casually opened the jade box. Inside the jade box, 9 snow-white strands of strange grass appeared before his eyes. The grass was very strange. It was completely white, and each stalk had 10 strange leaves. The leaves were shaped like humans, and they looked very lifelike, as if they were real people. This is resurrection grass. There are actually 9 of them. I'll store them in the psychic jade box so that I can replant them in the future. Di Shitian couldn't help but feel happy when he saw the 9 strange plants. In this world, there are billions of living beings. No matter which race they belong to, they all have 3 spiritual souls and 7 physical souls. The resurrection grass absorbs the boundless spiritual energy of the world and grows 10 leaves, which happen to be in the shape of a human. This represents the 3 spiritual souls and 7 physical souls of living beings. It was definitely the genuine resurrection grass. It's enough for you to brew the resurrection wine. Dark saw this and laughed excitedly. Looking at the clear soul leaves, these 9 resurrection grass were all mature spiritual essences. Good stuff. Di Shitian carefully looked at them, then closed the jade box and put it aside. Later, he would use them to brew the resurrection wine. At that time, he would save the Lingji, and the Blood Devourer would definitely swear allegiance to him. The entire 100 Mountains tribe would be merged into Sky Pillar City. However, now was not the time to brew the wine. He put the first jade box aside. Then, he stretched out his hand towards the second jade box. Whoosh! As soon as the jade box opened, a thick blood-red light spread out in front of his eyes. It's the demon-slaying gourd in the hands of the 1,000 Ghosts Archdevil. A thought appeared in Di Shitian's mind. TSK, the Ghost Emperor is indeed the Ghost Emperor. His moves are indeed extraordinary. Although this blood jade demon-slaying gourd was refined later on, it is far from the true supreme devil treasure of the ancient era. However, this blood jade gourd can even kill an ancient overlord. It's really a rare treasure of the Tao of killing. If I nurture it wholeheartedly, it might be able to improve even further. Dark's eyes narrowed into slits. This demonic treasure was very powerful. Previously, in the Ghost Valley, even Di Shitian's undying divine ring was destroyed by it. It had almost chopped off his neck. Just this demonic treasure alone was enough to tempt even an ancient giant if others in the universe knew about it. Quick, let's see what's below. Di Shitian secretly took a deep breath. With so many treasures appearing one after another, even he began to look forward to what kind of treasures would be in the next jade box. Without hesitation, he stretched out his hand and took out the third jade box, then opened it instantly. Huh! Dark couldn't help but cry out in surprise. Why is it an eye? I feel a familiar aura from this eye. It's like the 2000 ghost-suppressing demonic eyes on the All Ghosts Archdevil. Di Shitian revealed a thoughtful expression. His eyes stared unblinkingly at the jade box. Inside the third jade box was a pitch-black eye. Inside the demonic eye, there seemed to be numerous pupils constantly rotating. As they rotated, it seemed as if they were about to devour one's spirit. Vaguely, it exuded a vast and mighty power. Most importantly, this eye was almost identical to the All Ghosts Archdevil's demonic eyes. Nether stretched out his dragon claw and forcefully grabbed his dragon whiskers. He revealed a contemplative expression. Suddenly, a thought flashed through his mind, and a wisp of surprise flashed through his eyes. He said in surprise, could it be that the Ghost Emperor actually used the 2000 ghost-suppressing devil eyes from the All Ghosts Demon Exalt to refine this devil eye? It said that in ancient times, a peerless expert once collected the demonic eyes of the ghost-devouring clan and used them as materials. He fused them with the forbidden law Heavenly Pearl and the innate divine eye of the three-eyed divine tribe to create the Lawbreaker Eye. It has the mystical power to break all laws. Could it be that this jade box contains the legendary Lawbreaker Eye? Di Shitian's heart stirred. He sent his consciousness into the demonic eye. The moment his consciousness came into contact with the demonic eye, a piece of information quickly entered his mind. He calmly focused his mind and completely absorbed the information. He couldn't help but say, it's indeed the Lawbreaker Eye. If I refine and fuse it with my body, I can grow and become stronger. I can rely on this divine eye to be invincible among those of the same level. In terms of preciousness, it's even more precious than the demon-slaying gourd. Unfortunately, I already have the heavenly punishment divine eye. This Lawbreaker Eye is a little useless to me. No matter how magical the Lawbreaker Eye was, it couldn't be compared to the heavenly punishment divine eye. Even so, it was more precious than the demon-slaying gourd. For Ghost Emperor Fengdu to spend so much effort to refine such a divine eye, Sakura couldn't help but feel a sense of heaviness from this gift. He opened the 3 jade boxes, each of which could be said to be a rare treasure in heaven and earth. He didn't say much, but in his heart, he really regarded the Ghost Emperor of Fengdu as a brother that he valued the most. If anything happened in the future, he would go and help even if he had to do his best. Crack. When he opened the 4th jade box, there were 8 fist-sized hexagonal crystals in it. These 8 crystals actually gave off different kinds of power. This is the power of space. Could it be the stone of void subjugation of the 5 divine stones? And these 4 have a kind of aura that can seal the void. Could they be the stone of void subjugation of the 5 divine stones? Yes, I can't be wrong. I've seen these 2 divine stones with my own eyes in the ancient times. Their auras are exactly the same. Ming thought for a while and immediately recognized the origin of the 8 crystals in the jade box. Big Brother Fengdu's gift is really extraordinary. Di Shitian looked at the jade box. The divine stones inside were astonishingly 2 types of divine stones, with 4 pieces of each. He didn't expect that the Ghost Emperor of Fengdu would give him such a big gift when he had only slightly mentioned that he had built the 1000 Demon City. It was also impossible for him to refuse. The 4 heavenly gates of the 1,000-demon city were just counterfeits, and they needed to gather the 5 divine stones to increase their power. Previously, the heavenly gates were only embedded with the stone of sealing and the stone of eternity. If the stone of void subjugation and the stone of heaven subjugation were embedded, the power contained in the heavenly gates would be even more amazing. If all 5 divine stones were gathered, even the attacks of a peerless powerhouse could be blocked a few times. The Ghost Emperor's gift could be said to be timely. He looked at the 5th jade box. Inside the jade box was a simple and unadorned scroll. He didn't know why, but the moment he saw the scroll, a familiar feeling appeared in Sakra's mind. His pupils contracted violently in an instant. This time, he was truly and thoroughly shocked. It was as if there were tens of thousands of huge waves roaring madly in his heart. Without even thinking, he closed the jade box and casually sent it into the demon manor. Countless thoughts flashed through his mind. It's actually this supreme treasure. I was just thinking about how to find the missing part. I didn't expect Big Brother Fengju to have such a supreme treasure in his hands. This gift really makes it impossible for me to refuse. Good heavens, it's actually the 7 Sins Divine Melody Remnant Scroll. Ming glanced at it and was so shocked that he almost jumped up. He had seen the scrolls in Di Shitian's hands that recorded the first and second movements of the 7 Sins Divine Melody. The scroll in the jade box just now was exactly the same as the one in the past. In terms of materials and patterns, it was exactly the same. In ancient times, the 7 Sins Divine Melody had once appeared in the world. However, no one was able to cultivate this plaything. It is said that the entire Divine Melody is recorded on 3 7 Sins scrolls. TSK, the Ghost Emperor is truly remarkable. One of the 3 scrolls is actually in his hands. Come to think of it, the Ghost Emperor might be your lucky star. Ming sighed inwardly. The treasures of the Ghost Emperor of Fengju were really extraordinary. As expected, an existence that could reach the peak of a peerless powerhouse could crush an elephant with just a casual leak of something from the gaps of his fingers. Quick, look at the last jade box. The thing inside might be even more precious. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 765. Crack. Hiss. It's really such a thing. Brother Fengju is too generous. Di Shitian was somewhat immune to it now, but when he saw the item in the jade box, he couldn't help but sigh. Every unparalleled expert's wealth wasn't just for show. The innate spirit embryo was given to you without even blinking an eye. It seems that the Ghost Emperor holds you in high regard. Even in ancient times, this spirit embryo was a supreme treasure that was extremely difficult to find. Only by venturing deep into the primal chaos and relying on one's own destiny would one be able to encounter it. If one's luck was bad, they might not be able to encounter it even after thousands or even tens of thousands of years. Dark was now completely convinced by the Ghost Emperor of Fengju. Just these supreme treasures alone were enough to make him lose his temper. Inside the jade box was an innate spiritual embryo. The spirit embryo was the same as the one that Sakra had obtained in the past. It was a flawless jade liquid. However, this spirit embryo had condensed into the shape of an oval egg. In this jade egg, there was a Xiantian inextinguishable spirit light that was constantly moving. Within the spirit light, there was an ancient Xiantian aura. When he saw the carnate inextinguishable spiritual light, he knew that this was the innate spiritual embryo in the hands of the Ghost Emperor of Fengju. What do you plan to do with this innate spiritual embryo? Dark suddenly asked after a moment of silence. The value of treasures lies in quality, not quantity. In terms of weapons, I have the 7 Sins demonic zither to deal with group attacks. Its sound attacks are powerful. In close combat, I have the tiger soul. Its sharpness is unparalleled. The only thing I lack is a true Dharma treasure. I plan to refine this innate spiritual embryo into a natal innate spiritual treasure. A natal spiritual treasure that can attack and defend. Di Shitian looked at the innate spiritual embryo in the jade box, and many thoughts flashed through his mind. Since this was a gift from the Ghost Emperor of Fengdu, there was no reason for him to return it. Moreover, this was exactly what he needed. He wouldn't decline hypocritically. The moment he saw the spirit embryo, he began to ponder what kind of natal spiritual treasure he was going to refine using this innate spirit embryo. This was no small matter. Once the spirit embryo was formed, it could no longer be changed. Now that he had a divine weapon, he had it for both single combat and group attacks. In terms of weapons, he had a complete set. The only thing he lacked was a true magic treasure. He could not be careless in refining this magic treasure. In terms of its effect, it had to be able to be both offensive and defensive. He had to think carefully about what kind of magic treasure he wanted to refine. Both offense and defense. You need to think about it carefully. Ming narrowed her eyes and started to spin as she pondered. At this moment, Rat Boss came to seek an audience. Zhongxian put away all of the telepathic jade boxes, tidied up his clothes, and walked over to the main hall. When Big Rat saw Di Shitian arrive, he said respectfully, "Reporting to Your Majesty, the blood pool that you ordered has been completed. We have also collected all the information regarding the 10,000 Poison Valley and recorded it in this image recording pearl." After saying that, he took out a 7-colored pearl and presented it to Di Shitian. "The blood pool is completed. It's time to summon the heroic spirits again." Di Shitian took the image recording pearl and nodded. He praised, "You have done a good job. However, you still need to collect all kinds of poisonous plants and insects. Did the Jubao court collect any strange things of unknown origin?" After the blood pool was completed, he could summon the heroic spirits again with the help of the blood pool. This time, he planned to summon all of the Green Phoenix swordsmen, including the King of Nightmares, Hu, and the other think tanks. Once Silverhair and the others could come, he could hand over the many trivial matters in Sky Pillar City to them. He could free himself from the shackles and cultivate in peace. He could train with all his heart in the land of exile. There were countless treasures in the land of exile, and with the treasure-gathering pavilion collecting all kinds of treasures, there was no lack of rare treasures whose origins couldn't be discerned. Sakura also asked them to collect these rare treasures, and when they gathered a certain amount, they would be sent over together, and Ming would be able to discern their origins. "I will go to the Jubao court now," Big Rat said respectfully. Under Di Shitian's signal, he turned and left. 3 days later, in a pavilion in the backyard of the mansion, Di Shitian and Silverhair sat opposite each other. With the help of the blood altar, King of Nightmares was summoned. At this time, Di Shitian was frowning. There was a hint of anger between his brows. "You are saying that there are already people in the myriad worlds who are starting to be restless and want to attack our 1,000-demon city? If I am not wrong, I am afraid that is the case." King of Nightmares said seriously, "Back then, His Majesty was attacked by the North Nether Mansion Master, the carefree king in the Endless Void. After that, he was exiled here and has never shown himself again. This will definitely attract the attention of many people in the myriad worlds." Pausing for a moment, a wise glint appeared in his eyes as he continued, "Furthermore, with the demon-slaying order issued by the Black Demon Old Ancestor in the Black Demon Great World, given the influence of a peerless expert, it will definitely gather a huge faction and target Myriad Demon City. Although His Majesty has ordered the city to be sealed, preventing news from circulating inside and outside, I am afraid that it will not be long before some people can't hold it in." "No matter," Di Shitian sneered, "I have already guessed this situation in the past. This is an excellent opportunity to take a good look and see who are our friends and who are our enemies in the myriad worlds. As the saying goes, true feelings can only be seen in trials and tribulations. Whether they are sincere or not, when the myriad worlds make their move, it will be clear at a glance. If they want to scheme against our 1,000-demon city, it will depend on whether they have the ability to do so. I am afraid that no one would have thought that this place of exile would be the foundation for the rise of our demon race. A great era was coming. Whether they were friend or foe, he wanted to see clearly in this battle." "That's right." When the Dream Demon King heard this, he revealed a faint smile and said, "With the blood altar connecting the two worlds, we can let the people of the Thousand Demon City enter the banished land to train. 1 year in the outside world is 365 years in here. The whole world is filled with ferocious beasts. For the demon race, this is the best place to train. With the Thousand Demon Cities movement in the endless void, it will take 1 or 2 years to catch them. As long as we can fight for this precious time. When that time comes, it will be time for us to bare our fangs." After entering the place of exile, he had already realized the true significance of this place to the demon race. Thinking about it, when the myriad worlds thought that the Thousand Demon City was a piece of fat meat in their mouths, a fruit that could be swallowed at any time, and suddenly turned into a hedgehog full of spikes, that kind of expression would be very interesting. "I will leave the matters of Heaven Pillar City to you." Di Shitian looked at Silver Hair cautiously. "Don't worry, with me here, Heaven Pillar City will not fall into chaos." The Dream Demon King smiled faintly and said, "Actually, what the demon race really needs is a truly powerful demon emperor. Every bit of increase in your strength, the Thousand Demon City will be safer. A powerful demon emperor is the most important thing to the billions of demon race in the Thousand Demon City. Since the ancient times, the demon race had gradually declined. They were oppressed, massacred, and had their inner cores stolen. Almost all of them fell into despair. And Sakra's strong rise, the construction of the Thousand Demon City, and the return of all demons to their home, giving the demon race a place to settle down, was simply no surprise. In the hearts of hundreds of millions of demons, Sakra was already a kind of supreme symbol, the spiritual pillar of hope in their hearts. He could almost rise to the level of God. As long as Di Shitian did not fall, the fighting spirit in the hearts of the demon race would not be extinguished. In the inner world, in the palace, Di Shitian opened the heavenly punishment divine eye between his brows. A ball of purple gold heavenly punishment divine flame floated in front of him. The divine flame exuded a kind of supreme aura. In the sky above the heavenly punishment divine flame, the carnate spiritual embryo floated above. With the help of the divine flame, it constantly changed into various strange shapes. Around the divine flames, a huge blood refinement array appeared in front of them. To refine a natal spiritual treasure, one had to use the natal spiritual flame to refine it. With the help of the blood refining array, the primordial spirit and the spiritual treasure would be perfectly integrated. Once the refining was completed, it would be as easy as waving one's arm to use it. Whoosh! After seeing that there were no mistakes in the array, Di Shitian waved his hand and cut his left hand. Suddenly, a deep wound appeared on his wrist. A ball of purple gold essence blood immediately spurted out from the wound and sprinkled in the center of the array. After the ball of essence blood entered the array, it directly condensed into a ball of purple gold liquid the size of a fist. In the array, it did not disperse. As the array operated, the ball of essence blood rushed into the heavenly punishment divine flame. Poof! When the essence blood entered the divine flame, it was as if there were countless strange blood threads in the divine flame. Obviously, the heavenly punishment divine flame had become the natal spiritual blood flame. Under the burning of the divine flame, the strands of purple gold blood threads, like silk, followed the divine flame and continuously drilled into the carnate spiritual embryo. Primordial spirit brand. Di Shitian's mind moved. Suddenly, in the 10th grade Black Lotus in the demon abode, a pitch-black divine light separated from the Black Lotus. At the moment of separation, the divine light on the 10th grade Black Lotus could not help but dim. At the same time, the separated primordial spirit quickly flew out of his body and appeared in front of him. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a tiny Black Lotus. It directly rushed into the carnate spiritual embryo. Solidify. His 10 fingers quickly intertwined and drew countless strange illusions in front of him. They condensed into seals and quickly branded into the spirit embryo. When the primordial spirit entered the spirit embryo, it was as if his entire mind and spirit had completely merged with the spirit embryo. With a thought, the innate spirit embryo, which was originally in the shape of an egg, began to strangely change. TSK, good fellow. You want to refine a bell-shaped carnate spiritual treasure. Ming looked at the shape of the carnate spiritual embryo in the air with interest. He could not help but exclaim in surprise. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 766. My brothers are awesome. Something delayed me today. I'll try my best to update more tomorrow. Since ancient times, bells and cauldrons were treasures of heaven and earth. For example, in the divine land of his previous life, the 9 cauldrons were used to suppress the fortune of the 9 states. One could imagine how important they were. Among the many magical treasures, any cauldron or bell-type magical treasure usually had all kinds of great power, and most of them were treasures with both offensive and defensive capabilities. But at the same time, in order to refine such magical treasures, cauldrons and other similar magical treasures, the materials were extremely important. A bell was a kind of metal ramming device. It was usually used as an accessory in a military or religious building to announce the time, gather people, and spread news. The bells used in the palace were all engraved with inscriptions to pray for the blessings of the gods. It was one of the oldest musical instruments. Therefore, when refining a bell, the materials used must have a unique effect in transmitting sound. For example, the silk soundstone, azure wave copper, divine soundwood, and so on. A bell was made up of a bell and a bell hammer. When the bell was shaken and the bell hammer hit the bell, it could produce a powerful sound attack. However, the innate spiritual embryo was a supreme treasure in heaven and earth. It could evolve into any Dharma treasure. Moreover, the materials used to make it were many times better than any other materials. Clang! All of a sudden, the sound of a bell rang out. In the air above the heavenly punishment divine flame, a large bell that was half the height of a person, sparkling and translucent, like the purest crystal, appeared in front of him. On the bell's body, ancient and simple lines interweaved and covered every inch of its surface, exuding a sacred and ancient aura. On the bell, there was a mystical spiritual light swimming around. As the bell rang, ripples appeared in the surroundings. However, the innate indestructible spiritual light in the bell did not give birth to an innate divine restriction. It only temporarily shaped the embryo of a spiritual treasure. This was only the first step in refining an innate spiritual treasure. Reincarnation divine spirit tree, lend me a hand. I'll borrow your power of reincarnation to create a supreme treasure. Di Shitian did not relax when he saw that the embryo of the spiritual treasure had been formed. He raised his eyebrows slightly and revealed a natural sense of dignity. He suddenly pointed his left hand at the space outside the palace. Immediately, the reincarnation divine spirit tree in the inner world began to shake violently. The reincarnation fruits hanging on the tree began to fall from the tree and quickly flew into the palace. True dragons, killins, great rocks, vermilion birds, black tortoises, and so on. Lifelike samsara fruits streamed into the hall and instantly appeared above the heavenly punishment divine flame. These reincarnation fruits were refined at a speed visible to the naked eye, turning into wisps of black essence. Each reincarnation fruit left behind a wisp of essence that contained the reincarnation state. In the blink of an eye, tens of thousands of reincarnation fruits were refined. A total of 129,600 strands. Reincarnation state, merge into the bell. Inextinguishable divine light, create the divine prohibition. Under the burning of the divine flames, strands of reincarnation essence chi entered the crystal bell in the air at a speed visible to the naked eye. As soon as they entered the bell, they immediately intertwined with the innate indestructible spirit light inside and began to fuse with each other. Every time a strand of reincarnation essence chi fused, strands of strange talismans would be born. Every time a talisman was created, a wisp of reincarnation essence chi would emanate from the bell. Crack! At this moment, Di Shitian waved his hand and took out another jade box. He casually opened the box and emerald seeds of life flew out of the box and landed on the heavenly punishment divine flame. Following that, The source of life was also rapidly refined by the mighty power of the godly flames. Wisps of life essence chi that contained the life essence chi continued to spread out. After a total of 49 seeds of life were refined, the blood-refining grand spell formation produced a total of 129,600 wisps of life essence. Infuse the life essence chi into the bell. Inextinguishable divine prohibition. Following the essence of reincarnation, wisps of pure essence of life also entered the crystal bell in an instant. They intertwined with the innate indestructible spirit light, causing the talismans to faintly emit the aura of life. Hiss. What kind of bell is lunatic DI going to forge? Reincarnation intent and life essence. Any one of these two can make the inextinguishable divine prohibition. He's actually combining two different intents. No, it's not just two. He's adding more. When Di Shitian had started refining the carnate spirit treasure, Ming had been watching his every move without blinking. The more he watched, the more surprised he became. One had to know that the reincarnation essence chi alone was enough to make the inextinguishable divine light create the inextinguishable divine prohibition. It was enough to make the bell possess the power of reincarnation. But now that he'd added other intents, the inextinguishable divine prohibition would undergo strange changes. He's going to infuse the world origin essence chi into the bell. When he saw Di Shitian's next move, Ming couldn't help but be surprised. The seeds of life were sent into the heavenly punishment divine flame and quickly refined into wisps of world origin essence chi. There were also 129,600 wisps of world origin essence chi, and they quickly entered the bell with the power of the divine flame. For a time, the talismans that came out of the bell naturally contained world origin essence chi. It was as if each talisman contained an independent small world. Swoosh. With a thought, light flashed in front of him and the sealing mirror appeared in front of him. A strange divine radiance rippled out from the mirror, and ancient seal patterns appeared. Looking at the mirror in front of him, this sealing mirror was personally made by him in the past. However, after looking at it, Di Shitian didn't hesitate. He waved his hand and directly sent the mirror to the heavenly punishment divine flame. He shouted, "Although this sealing mirror is a sealing treasure, it's not very useful to me. Since that's the case, I'll refine it and turn it into sealing essence chi. I'll infuse it into the crystal bell." In his body, waves of pure mighty force were continuously infused into the heavenly punishment divine flame. Under the mighty force of the divine flame, the entire sealing mirror was quickly refined into wisps of sealing essence chi. It was infused into the crystal bell in the sky. However, Di Shitian was still not satisfied. He took out the star's immortal slaying flag and threw it into the heavenly punishment divine flame. With the supreme mighty force of the divine flame, it was forcibly refined into wisps of star essence chi. For a moment, the crystal bell in the air faintly showed a strange scene of the reincarnation cycle of the heavens, and specks of starlight. In the bell, there was the sound of samsara reverberating. As the stars rotated, there was an illusion of heavenly samsara. Instantaneous divine light, infuse it into the crystal bell for I and derive the power of time. After pondering for a moment, a firm and resolute expression appeared on his face. With a thought, he gritted his teeth and the instant divine splendor that was originally stored in the divine eye of heaven's punishment was immediately stripped out. A mass of 7-colored divine splendor flew out and landed on the divine flame. Under the refinement of the divine flame, it also turned into wisps of power of time and entered the bell. Next is to enter the sound array. Sakra's 10 fingers quickly moved and drew a series of bizarre illusions in front of him, condensing into a series of hand seals which quickly entered into the crystal clock. In his mind, the sound arrays were quickly branded and integrated into the crystal bell. In the integration of the sound arrays, the sound of samsara from the bell became thicker and clearer. Listening to it, one would feel as if they had entered the cycle of samsara. In the bell, one could see the innate indestructible divine light rapidly turning into talismans. The speed was extremely fast. All kinds of mystical powers fused together and the talismans formed became more and more mysterious. As the sound arrays entered the bell one by one. Below, the heavenly punishment divine flame continuously refined the bell. Time passed quietly. In the blink of an eye, a total of 49 days had passed. Dawn. In the palace, a crisp sound of a bell rang. As the news spread, the tens of thousands of demons in the inner world who were nervously refining pills, weapons, and wine suddenly felt a burst of clarity in their minds. It was as if they had been enlightened. In their minds, they felt as if they had been separated from the world for a lifetime. The doubts that had been in their hearts seemed to have been enlightened in an instant. Their own realms seemed to have improved imperceptibly. Good. 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 My natal spiritual treasure has finally been preliminarily refined. In the palace, Di Shitian couldn't help but let out a burst of joyful laughter. In his hand was a translucent crystal bell that looked like colored glass. Looking at the bell, mysterious patterns intertwined and covered the bell. Specks of starlight flickered on the bell. Divine light flowed around the bell. In the bell, one could see the cycle of samsara and the rotation of the world. Upon closer inspection, one would vaguely feel as if one's mind was being sucked into the bell. Good fellow, what do you intend to name this bell? Dark looked at the bell in front of him in amazement. The bell naturally exuded a supreme aura that belonged to an innate spiritual treasure. Vaguely, there was an aura that could suppress the void. The surrounding space rotated around the bell. Bell of Heaven's Samsara. Di Shitian took a deep breath, looked at the ancient bell in his hand with a steady gaze, and slowly spat out a sentence. Bell of Heaven's Samsara? Dark's eyes brightened. He exclaimed, "What a good name. With this Bell of Heaven's Samsara, Crazy Di, you can be considered to have a complete set of magic treasures. Even the seal treasure mirror and the star immortal vanquishing banner have been integrated into it. Quick, take a look and see how many innate divine seals there are in the bell." Di Shitian smiled faintly. His mind was immersed in the bell. The scene within the bell appeared in his mind. Inside the bell, there were two distinct layers of innate divine seals. Each layer was formed by 129,600 talismans. The two layers of innate divine seals were exactly the same. They were both derived from the Heaven's reincarnation divine seal. However, with each additional innate divine seal, the power of the Bell of Heaven's Samsara also increased continuously. Two innate divine seals meant that the Bell of Heaven's Samsara was a mid-grade innate spiritual treasure. The natal spiritual treasure has been refined. The soul return wine is almost done brewing. With a thought, Di Shitian sent the Bell of Heaven's Samsara into his body through the top of his head. It continued to be nourished in the Yarrow residence. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidien.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 767. Bayou Tribe. In front of the gate of the stronghold, two valiant demons were guarding the post with spears in their hands, guarding against any ferocious beasts or other enemies that might rush into the tribe. However, after the battle with Modu that year, the entire Bayou tribe's strength had obviously deterred many forces that were secretly spying on them. During this period of time, no one came to provoke them. This made the two guards not too vigilant. Their expressions also appeared to be very relaxed. Old Centipede, have you heard about the demon emperor Shitian? He built Heavenly Pillar City on Pillar of Heaven's mountains. Recently, many brothers in the tribe have been running to Heavenly Pillar City. They've been sending over the spiritual essence of heaven and earth that they've collected, the beast cores that they've hunted, and the corpses of fierce beasts. Don't you see that some of our brothers are so happy that they can even walk? The sharp-eyed guard on the left said enviously. Why haven't I heard of it? The guard called Old Centipede said with yearning, I've heard from the brothers in Heavenly Pillar City that there's an endless supply of longevity pills, all kinds of spirit wines, and powerful divine weapons of astonishing quality. As long as you can get the materials we didn't value before, the corpses of ferocious beasts, and the essence of heaven and earth, you can exchange for them. If it weren't for the fact that it just so happened to be our turn to guard these 3 years, I would have gone long ago." As he said that, he shook his head regretfully and suddenly asked, "Oh right, old bat, I heard that the Demon Emperor in Heavenly Pillar City is really amazing. He can actually build a blood altar. I heard that he used this altar to continuously summon large batches of brothers from the Monster Clan. Right now, the number of Monster Clan members gathered in Heavenly Pillar City is probably in the millions. It is said that some of our brothers in the tribe who followed the Demon Emperor and joined the army can receive large batches of longevity pills every month. How good would it be if we could have such an opportunity? Heh heh. That's because the Demon Emperor is generous and his methods are superb. I heard that in the Demon Emperor's inner world, there are no less than 100,000 Monster Clan alchemists, refiners, and brawls who are constantly refining all kinds of pills and weapons. Every moment, there are millions of pills being refined. In my opinion, even the Dan Huang of Banished City can't compare to Heavenly Pillar City." The old bat sighed with longing in his eyes. The two of them chatted in front of the door. At the door, there were also demon brothers walking back and forth. Suddenly, as if he had heard their conversation, a man in a black robe paused for a moment. However, he continued to walk into the tribe. This pause caught the attention of the two guards. "Strange, why do I feel like I've seen that black-robed brother somewhere before?" The old bat was surprised. "What's so strange about that? We've been in and out of this place for a long time. Aren't we already familiar with this place? Don't be surprised. Let's just focus on completing the 3 years' worth of tasks first. There are only 3 months left before we can change shifts. When the time comes, we can also go to Sky Pillar City to play." The old centipede laughed. Not long after entering the Bayou tribe, they arrived before a cave dwelling. Di Shetien raised his eyes and looked over. What appeared before him was merely a simple cave dwelling. At the entrance of the cave dwelling, he saw a middle-aged man wearing a red robe leaning against the cave wall. In his hand was a jade-colored wine gourd, and he was pouring strong wine into his mouth one mouthful after another. It was Shueisha. Suddenly, a ray of light flashed through Shueisha's blurred eyes. Seeing Sakura appear in front of the cave, he stood up abruptly and said with a touch of excitement on his face, "Demon Emperor." He only called out, but his 2 eyes were firmly fixed on Sakura, full of expectation. "Fortunately, I didn't fail. I have finished brewing the Soul Return wine." When Di Shetien saw Shueisha's reaction, he was even more certain that he would be able to achieve his goal this time. He had truly taken the most resolute step. The Soul Return wine can really save the Lingji mushroom. Shueisha looked at Di Shetien with a face full of expectation. This sentence was just to give him more confidence, nothing more. The Soul Return grass is one of the most precious spirit essences in the world. It is nurtured by the power of countless souls. It has the miraculous effect of bringing the dead back to life. Now, it is supplemented with various precious spirit essences to brew the Soul Return wine. The power contained in the Soul Return wine is even more miraculous than drinking it alone. Moreover, Madame Gui used your 9 underworlds' heavenly coffin to gather her soul. If there are no accidents, the Soul Return wine will definitely succeed. Di Shetien smiled indifferently, exuding a strong sense of confidence. "Demon Emperor, please follow me." When Shueisha heard this, he didn't hesitate at all and hurriedly said. He took Di Shetien and was about to walk into the cave. As expected of an infatuated man. Seeing this scene, Di Shetien couldn't help but inwardly praise. When he heard that the Soul Return wine could be used, Shueisha in front of him no longer had the calmness of a leader of the Bayou tribe. He also didn't have the confidence of a heavenly demon. Instead, he revealed the anxious expression of a husband who was worried about his wife, as if he was the most ordinary husband in the world. Although it seemed very rude, he didn't care too much about it. What he cared about was this general, Shueisha. TSK, lunatic DI, once you subdue someone like Shueisha, he will never betray you. It seems that you will have another true general. You have taken the most powerful step in the layout of the exiled land. Dark also praised with admiration. After recovering the Bayou tribe, the next step is to strengthen Heavenly Pillar City and truly establish a foundation in the exiled land. Sakra followed behind Shwe and entered the cave dwelling. At the same time, he said in a deep voice in his mind, "However, I have already decided to entrust the matter of setting up the banished land to military advisor Meng Shi. With his ability, he will definitely not be worse than me. He has great wisdom." The land of exile was originally planned by Di Shitian to be used to train the subordinates of the demon clan. As for the layout of the land of exile, he was prepared to completely hand it over to Silver Hair, so that he could truly establish his prestige among the demon clan and establish his own status. Moreover, Bai Yu, Kai Hua, Yuan Zhon and the others needed to be independent. Here was an opportunity. This time, he wanted to let go and let these subordinates follow him to make a name for themselves. For the demon race to be strong, it was impossible to rely on oneself. Following Shwe's footsteps, they arrived at a secret chamber in the blink of an eye. The secret chamber was very conspicuous. At a glance, one could see the 9 underworld heavenly coffin inside. In the heavenly coffin, a woman was lying silently inside. Di Shitian didn't look at her for long. After a glance, he immediately moved his eyes away. With a flash of light, a white jade gourd appeared in his hand. He handed it to Shwe and said, "The gourd contains the soul-returning wine. As long as you drink it, you will naturally condense your 3 spiritual and 7 physical souls. Many thanks, Your Majesty." Shwe looked at the soul-returning wine with a burning gaze and said with a serious expression. There was a trace of respect in his tone that had never been there before. 3 days later, Shwe personally announced in the Bayou tribe that the Bayou tribe would be merged into the Sky Pillar City and that Di Shitian would be the Demon King. 100,000 demon race members would all move into the Sky Pillar City. The exiled land was in an uproar. There were even rumors that spread like snowflakes. 3 days ago, I saw the Demon King come to the Bayou tribe to meet Lord Shwe. Less than a day later, I saw a woman appear in Lord Shwe's cave. TSK, that woman is Lord Shwe's wife, Fairy Lingji. I heard that Fairy Lingji had fallen in the hands of the demon god 10,000 years ago. I didn't expect that she could be resurrected. It must be the Demon King's heaven-defying method. 3 days ago, I saw with my own eyes that there was a strange phenomenon above Lord Shwe's cave. There was a strange soul-summoning sound. At that time, there seemed to be a few illusory souls. It should be Fairy Lingji's 3 souls and 7 spirits that were summoned back. It is said that His Majesty the Demon King has a magical spirit wine called the Soul-Returning Wine. That is a heaven-ranked spirit wine that can let the souls of the dead come back to life. It is magical. Although the order came suddenly. However, the demons of the Bayou tribe did not have any resistance to merging into the Sky Pillar City. Instead, they were all happy. If it was not for Shwe, who knew how many demon race members would have already entered the Sky Pillar City. Now, it was simply following the will of the people. For a time, the Sky Pillar City's reputation soared. It also attracted the attention of the Demon City and the Exiled City. At the same time, in the myriad of worlds, there was still surging undercurrent. In the heavenly incense world, in the heavenly incense palace, a beautiful woman was having a secret conversation with a veiled girl. "Mother, now that the Demon City has become the gathering place of the myriad of worlds, the Demon Slayer Alliance has contacted the Tianji sect. It will not be a problem to calculate the location of the Demon City. In your opinion, what should our Sky Incense Valley do?" Xiong muttered to herself as she looked at the beautiful woman. The beautiful woman's face showed a trace of decisiveness. She said, "Now, the world is changing. It is the time for heroes to rise. It is the precursor of a great era. Usually, at this time, those who have great luck will rise and grow at a terrifying speed. It is very difficult for such peerless geniuses to fall. Based on the Demon King's experience, he must have the remaining luck of the demon race. Now that the news of the Demon King's fall is spreading, I will not believe it. Mother means that this time, our Sky Incense Valley must stand on the side of the Demon City." Xiong Xiong's clear eyes showed a strange expression. Adding flowers to a brocade is never as good as providing charcoal in the snow. Since we have chosen our target, we must be firm. The beautiful woman said with certainty. The demon city will rise. Xiong Xiong, this time, you will lead the heavenly incense palace and wait for an opportunity to strike. You must take this opportunity to build a relationship with the demon race. The beautiful woman said in a deep voice. Yes, mother. At the same time, in the back Earth realm where the Li race was located, in a huge valley, there was also a group of Li race powerhouses nervously discussing something. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen, please go to www.chidian.com. I support the author. I support the original reading. Chapter 768. As a member of the 100 clans, although the Li clan had always stood aloof from worldly affairs and had a gentle temperament, the strength of the entire Li clan was also extremely astonishing. Sitting in the Hutu Great World, there were no less than 10 billion Li clan members. However, these 10 billion Li clan members did not mean that there were 10 billion Li clan warriors. In fact, among the 100 clans, what they valued most was bloodline and inheritance. Most clans had a kind of awakening process. For example, if the three-eyed clan did not have the third divine eye when they were born, they could not be considered a true three-eyed clan member and could only be regarded as an ordinary clan member. Only with the third divine eye could one become a true three-eyed clan warrior. Therefore, among the 100 clans, many clans separated their clans. With the awakening as the dividing line, they were divided into mortal physique and king physique. Of course, in every clan, the mortal physique was equally important. It was the foundation of a clan and was the existence to reproduce and strengthen the clan's strength. The number was usually quite large, and a considerable number of king physiques would awaken every year. They truly became the pillar of a clan. These king physiques were the combat power that each clan relied on to dominate the world. Although there were as many as 10 billion Li clan members in the Hutu Great World, there were only a little more than 100 million royal clan members who had awakened their bloodline and were born with divine power. In the Hutu Great World, there was a secret realm where the power of Earth was the strongest. It was called the Hutu Secret Realm and was divided into 9 levels. The Hutu Secret Realm was inhabited by most of the Li clan's royal clan warriors. The rich power of Earth allowed these Li clan warriors to work hard to strengthen their physical bodies and constantly stimulate the power of their bloodline. In the deepest part of the secret realm, there was an ancient temple that was earthy yellow and had a heavy aura. In the temple, the security was tight, and the aura that faintly exuded deterred all existence. Traces of time could be seen on every inch of the temple. At this moment, in the temple, an old man in an earthy yellow robe, with snow-white hair and a very strong face, was sitting on a futon. In his eyes, there was a vicissitude and wisdom that seemed to be able to see through people's hearts. He calmly looked at the man and woman standing respectfully in front of him. Xingxuan, Ling you came to the Divine Palace just to ask Grandfather to order my Li clan's elites to go and assist the Thousand Demon City. The white-haired old man's clear eyes slowly paused on their faces as he said, "Do you know what it means if Grandfather really does this?" "I know." Tu Xingxun's chubby face had long been replaced by a serious expression. He said, "Once Grandfather orders our elites to go and help, it means that the fate of our Li clan is completely connected with the fate of the entire demon clan. We are bound together for good or ill." There was a hint of heaviness in his tone. Clearly, he had already considered the consequences. "Since you're clear about this, you should know that this is not a decision that can be made just because the Demon Emperor saved your lives." The old man calmly shook his head. At this moment, Earth Spiritor suddenly stepped forward and said, "Grandpa, Linger once used the Prophet's Eye to see the fate of the Demon Emperor." "Prophet's Eye?" The old man's expression turned grave. "Linger, what did you see on the Demon Emperor? Brother Di's fate is not in the control of the River of Fate." Earth Spiritor said word by word with an extremely serious expression. "What?" The old man's calm expression immediately changed. He looked at Earth Spiritor seriously and asked, Linger, are you sure you didn't see wrongly? The Demon Emperor's fate is not in the river of fate. That's right. Brother Di's fate is ever-changing. Even fate cannot control it. Earth Spirit nodded without hesitation. A glint flashed across the old man's eyes. He said, "All right, Grandfather will seriously consider this matter. Both of you can leave for now. I have to discuss it with the other elders." Yes. When Tu Xing's son and Earth Spirit heard this, they looked at each other and saw a trace of joy in each other's eyes. It was as if a heavy burden had been lifted off their shoulders. At the same time, a strange phenomenon appeared in some sinister regions of the world. From countless unmarked graves, a large number of malicious ghosts rushed out, as well as zombies in tattered clothes. They all knelt on the ground in reverence, respectfully looking into the depths of the void. In the underworld, countless ghosts and deities were howling non-stop, letting out waves of ghostly cries. Then, they all knelt down respectfully as if they were on a pilgrimage. Vaguely, it was as if they were welcoming the arrival of a supreme existence. On the purple-gold continent, streams of netherworld ghost springs appeared silently, spewing out dense ghost chi. In the backyard of Sky Pillar City, Di Shitian and the Nightmare King sat facing each other with a chessboard in front of them. The chessboard was filled with black and white pieces. They formed a large black and white dragon that moved freely. "Congratulations, Your Majesty, for adding another army and obtaining a peerless general." Mengxi's eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. She casually placed a white piece on the chessboard. The effect of the soul-returning wine was extraordinary. Once it was drunk, the 3 souls and 7 spirits of the Lingji mushroom, which had been scattered between heaven and earth, gathered on the spot and returned to the body. The Lingji mushroom fairy, who had been dead for tens of thousands of years, was resurrected in an instant. Xueshi didn't hesitate to keep his promise. He acknowledged Di Shitian as his master and completely submitted to him. At the same time, 100,000 elite demons from the Baiyu tribe joined Sky Pillar City. Among them, 70,000 demons were willing to join the army. They had already entered the military governor guard and were being trained by Shura Shah. Once formed, they would be under Xueshi's command. Thousand Demon City added another army, Tian Fa Army, led by Xueshi Heaven Barracks. Once the 70,000 demons finished their training, they would join the Heaven Barracks. Led by Xueshi, Thousand Demon City's strength increased again. Xueshi is indeed a talented general. His battle strength has reached the ancient heavenly demon realm. Moreover, he grew up in the land of exile. Once the Heaven Barracks is formed, their battle strength will be very impressive. Di Shitian nodded slightly. With Xueshi's return, he had completely taken the first step in conquering the land of exile. He picked up a black piece and smiled. During this period of time, Military Advisor has been visiting the city and sent Xu Da and the others to spread out the information network. I believe that you have a well-thought-out plan for the land of exile. The black piece was placed. On the chessboard, a third dragon jumped out and revealed its ferocious claws. Mengxi asked about it. Back then, the Emperor Assassin and Shura Shah had personally tried to assassinate Your Majesty. The mastermind behind them was Dan Huang from the City of Exile. King Nightmare smiled mysteriously. That's right. Dan Huang, Treasure Boy, and the City Lord of Exile are all experts with inner worlds. Could it be that Military Advisor is preparing to make a move against Dan Huang? Di Shitian's eyes shone with a strange light. If Mengxi's guess is correct, Your Majesty doesn't plan to truly unify the land of exile and completely destroy the City of Exile and Demon City. Instead, you want to make this place into a training ground for the demons. Your ultimate goal is to weaken the City of Exile and Demon City so that Sky Pillar City will be above the 2 cities and enjoy the vast resources of the land of exile. King Nightmare looked up at Di Shitian. The City of Exiles and the Demonic City are both colossal forces. If we want to use the power of the demon clan to fight against them, it will undoubtedly be like trying to smash a rock with an egg. Indeed, I have no intention of completely unifying the land of exiles. Military Advisor, don't you think that this is an excellent place to train our troops? There's endless joy in fighting with ferocious beasts. There's endless joy in fighting with humans. There's endless joy in fighting with demon gods. Sakra's gaze was deep. From the very beginning, he didn't have the intention of swallowing the entire banished land in one go. It wasn't just a problem of his own strength, but also a long-term consideration. Although ferocious beasts were brutal, if there were only ferocious beasts in this place, then the demon soldiers that could be trained would only be strong individually. Only by fighting with humans and devils, and continuously fighting head-on, would one be able to truly temper a battle-hardened elite. The land of exile has strange rules. There is a limit to one's lifespan. Only the longevity pill can extend one's lifespan. In the past, this lifeline has always been controlled by Dan Huang. The 100 tribes had no choice but to rely on the city of exile. After winning over countless experts and obtaining countless benefits and riches, Mengshi thinks that the first step should be to make a move against Dan Huang. King Nightmare exuded a confident aura. "I leave the layout of the land of exile to you," Di Shitian said without hesitation. 3 days later, a notice was issued in Sky Pillar City, in the land of exile, regardless of race, as long as one wasn't a demon god, anyone who settled down in Sky Pillar City could receive a longevity pill every day. As soon as the notice was issued, it spread like the wind to the land of exile in an extremely short period of time. In the land of exile, every day consumed a day of one's lifespan, which was a longevity pill. If one settled down in Sky Pillar City, they could receive a longevity pill every day. That was equivalent to Sky Pillar City supporting their daily consumption. Perhaps not many people would care about this consumption for a day or two, but if it continued for a long time, then no matter who it was, they would start to feel tempted. As soon as this news spread, the entire land of exile was in an uproar. In the northern part of the land of exile, there was a huge valley shrouded in miasma and poisonous gas all year round. The valley was extremely large, and there lived a large number of poisonous insects and beasts. They were incomparably poisonous, and every one of them was abnormally savage. If one wasn't careful and was injured by one of the poisonous beasts, their entire body would immediately be corroded by the poison. Some of the poisons could even kill an ancient powerhouse in an instant. There were also countless poisonous grasses and poisonous natural treasures. There were all kinds of strange poisonous creatures. It had always been a forbidden area that no one could enter, unless it was absolutely necessary. Not many people would enter the valley. However, there were still countless piles of corpses in the valley. This valley was called the Valley of 10,000 Poisons. In the valley, the most frightening thing was the 9-headed poisonous Jiao Emperor that had lived for an unknown period of time. Each head carried the most terrifying poison in the world. Even ancient powerhouses would flee in panic when facing it. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. I support the author. I support the original reading. Chapter 769. Even ferocious beasts avoided the 10,000 Poison Valley. Not a single blade of grass grew, and there was no sign of life. It was desolate and quiet. Normally, no one would appear here even after 10 days or half a month. Today, at the entrance of the 10,000 Poison Valley, a man in a black robe and a woman in a colorful dress were standing in front of the valley. "This is the 10,000 Poison Valley?" Di Shitian looked into the valley and saw that it was a huge valley. Faintly discernible miasma and poisonous gas filled the entire valley. If an ordinary person entered this place, they wouldn't even be able to see clearly. The air was filled with a fishy stench, mixed with strange fragrances. Yes, the miasma and poisonous gas in this valley are extremely strong. Even ordinary ancient demon saints would be constantly eroded by the poisonous gas. They would be reduced to a pile of bones before they could walk in. The celestial peacock maiden's expression changed slightly as she looked at the valley before her. "The reason my brother and I were able to enter was because we bought 2 heavenly fragrance poison-repelling pills from the Pill Emperor. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to enter the Poison Valley." TSK, the poisonous gas here is really strong. Who knows how many tens of thousands of years it has accumulated? Who knows how many types of poisonous gas are intertwined? Crazy DI, quickly release the Imperial Jade Archive. This place is filled with countless types of poisonous gas. I remember that there is a great Tao talisman of the poison Tao in the archive. That talisman has been integrated into the archive and merged with the carnate inextinguishable divine light. That is the source of all poisons. The more types of poisons it devours, the more complete the great Tao talisman will be. Perhaps it can be completely completed here and become the first complete great Tao talisman. Ming was hugging the Emperor Jade Disc and continuously imprinting the cultivation techniques into the Jade Archive. The great Tao heavenly melody in the archive continued. There were already 666 great Tao talismans in it. Unfortunately, none of them were complete. Among them, there was one that was completely pitch black and extremely incomplete. It was only 1/10 of the entire talisman. Pages of poison cultivation methods appeared in it. I remember that you and your elder brother came here to pick a 5 elements sacred lotus. Di Shitian looked at Peacock and recalled the reason why she and her brother entered Poison Valley. It was to pluck a 5 elemental saint lotus to refine their bodies and cultivate the 9 revolutions mystic art. After picking the 5 elements sacred lotus this time, I will brew a 9 revolutions golden core wine. If you and your sister were to drink the wine and cultivate, I believe it wouldn't be difficult for you to break through your current realm. Di Shitian said as if he didn't care. After he finished speaking, he didn't stop at all. He didn't seem to be afraid of the countless poisonous gases in the Poison Valley at all as he strode into the valley. This wine was specially brewed for us siblings. The Peacock Maiden's delicate body couldn't help but tremble slightly. She looked at Indra with a complicated expression in her eyes. Ripples began to appear in the calm lake of his heart. There seemed to be a figure emerging from the void. He paused for a moment, gritted his teeth, and hurriedly followed behind. The Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive devours 10,000 poisons to complete the talismans and become the source of 10,000 poisons. Di Shitian strode into the Poison Valley with majestic gait. As soon as he entered, he immediately saw the poisonous gases in the air rushing toward him. They were about to burrow into his body through his pores. But in an instant, boundless divine light emerged from the top of Di Shitian's head. The heavenly melody of the great Tao seemed to be born from heaven and earth. The translucent Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive emerged from the top of his head. It began to spin. Although the Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive was only an incomplete primordial spiritual treasure and could at most be called a half-primordial spiritual treasure, even so, when the talisman of the Great Way in the Jade Archive stirred the world, the pitch-black talisman of poison in the Jade Archive fiercely emitted a strong devouring power. Outside his body, the highly toxic poison that was originally going to drill into his body seemed to have smelled its mother's scent all of a sudden. It quickly turned back and excitedly rushed into the Emperor's Jade Archive that was hanging above Sakra's head. It quickly entered the poison talisman. Immediately, one could see traces of pitch-black poisonous light shining brightly. The devouring power emitted from the Jade Archive instantly swallowed the poisonous gas outside his body. Haha, that's how it is. The poison talisman in the Jade Archive is indeed constantly being repaired. The remaining parts are growing out. Quickly, the more it devours, the more advantageous it will be for the Imperial Jade Disc. Boom. Boom. The Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive spun above his head. For a moment, the countless deadly poisons that enveloped the entire 10,000 Poison Valley revolved around the Sakra and quickly gathered back. In just an instant, a pitch-black deadly poison vortex was formed above his head. As the vortex rotated, the vast deadly poison aura poured into the Jade Archive at a speed visible to the naked eye. Stay by my side, Di Shitian said to the Peacock Goddess. Because of the Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive, there was not even a trace of poisonous gases left within a radius of 10 meters around him. They were all sucked into the Jade Archive. Is this the carnate spirit treasure that was refined in the inner world? It's amazing. The Peacock Goddess blinked. She was even more amazed by Di Shitian's methods. Looking at the poisonous gases that had been swept away by the Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive at the mouth of the valley, she couldn't help but think to herself, maybe he really can deal with the 9-headed poisonous Jiao Emperor. I heard that the poisonous Jiao Emperor already has intelligence and absorbs large amounts of poisonous gases in the valley every day to cultivate its poison core. Mr. Di's wanton absorption of poisonous gases would not draw the poisonous Jiao Emperor out of the poison dragon pool, would it? A thought suddenly appeared in his mind. As soon as this thought appeared, it immediately took root in his mind. Moreover, the more he thought about it, the more he felt that this possibility was extremely high. She walked to Di Shitian's side and said, "Mr. Di, the poisonous Jiao Emperor lives in the poison dragon pool and uses poisonous gases to cultivate every day. If we absorb the poisonous gases like this, we might alarm the poisonous Jiao Emperor. The poisonous Jiao Emperor uses the poisonous gases in the valley to cultivate." When Di Shitian heard this, it was as if a bolt of lightning had flashed through his mind. He couldn't help but reveal a strong sense of confidence. A plan instantly formed in his mind. He said confidently, "You came at the right time. The poison dragon pool is the poisonous Jiao Emperor's nest. If we fight it in the poison dragon pool, it will be disadvantageous to us. If we lure it out of the poison dragon pool, our chances of killing it will increase greatly." The poison dragon pool didn't sound like a good place. Perhaps the poisonous Jiao Emperor's battle prowess would increase by several times inside. If they could lure it out, it would be beneficial to them. He instantly came up with a plan and laughed coldly. "Since the poisonous Jiao Emperor uses poisonous gases to cultivate, then I will absorb all the poisonous gases in the entire 10,000 Poison Valley today. It will be a good opportunity to reduce its strength. Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive, absorb the poisonous gases with all your might." With a thought, the Extreme Emperor Jade Archive began to spin at an astonishing speed. The devouring force from the Jade Archive suddenly became more than 10 times stronger. Rumbling sounds rang out in the air. The poisonous cloud that had enveloped the valley in the air was swept down in an instant. "Ha, that's how it should be. Swallow, swallow with all your might. Swallow all the poisonous gases in the entire valley. TSK, this poison talisman is replenishing so quickly. It's already 20% full." Nether looked at the talisman of Great Tao glowing with a strong poisonous light in the Jade Archive, his eyes glowing brightly. The poisonous gas in this place was extraordinarily pure. It was the poisonous gas that had been accumulated in the valley for tens of thousands of years. "Look, there are so many spiritual essences of heaven and earth. There are so many precious spiritual essences in this valley. Centipede grass, 7-step fall, heavenly frost flower, crimson poisonous fruit, rotten corpse grass, heartless strange flower. Sky poison stone, profound yin tree, poisonous coral." Outside the valley, a large amount of poisonous gases were swept clean and plundered into the Jade Archive. Immediately, the area that was originally shrouded in poisonous gases appeared before their eyes. With one look, the valley was filled with all kinds of poisonous plants, poisonous flowers, and countless other highly poisonous things. They were brightly colored and looked very beautiful. In fact, each one of them was a terrifying thing that could take a person's life at any time. These can all be used to brew the 10,000 poison dragon wine. When the peacock goddess saw this, her eyes lit up. Without needing Di Shitian's instructions, she quickly walked toward the poisonous plants and flowers. In her hand, she held a jade gourd that was specially refined to collect these highly poisonous things. She deftly collected all the poisonous plants that she saw into the gourd. Hiss! At this moment, a terrifying fishy wind swept toward the peacock goddess. In the fishy wind, a terrifying black light pounced toward her neck like lightning. "Watch out!" Di Shitian's eyes were sharp. He glanced at it from the corner of his eye and his right hand landed on the tiger soul. With a twist of his wrist, a bright arc of light streaked across the sky. Crack! As the saber light flashed, the black light was cut into two and fell to the ground. "It's the dark gold snake king." The peacock goddess reacted instantly. She was about to attack, but Di Shitian beat her to it. When she saw it, her expression changed slightly. The black gold snake king was quite poisonous. Once bitten, even an ancient demon sage would be paralyzed and powerless. They would be at the mercy of the snake king. The 10,000 Poison Valley is indeed not a good place. Di Shitian muttered to himself. However, he had no intention of backing down. When he saw that all the poison within a radius of 100 feet had been plundered, he did not hesitate and continued to move forward. Wherever he went, pure poisonous gas flowed into the Jade Archive like a tidal wave. The poisonous vortex above his head seemed to have taken on a physical form. He frantically plundered the entire valley's poison source. If we plunder the poisonous gas like this, we'll definitely alarm the poisonous beasts in the valley. They might even attack us, the peacock goddess said hesitantly. If one comes, I'll kill one. If two come, I'll kill both. Sakura spat out this sentence without hesitation. This 10,000 Poison Valley was simply a treasured land for perfecting the poison talisman. He was going to use these poisons to complete the Great Tao Talisman, so how could he shrink back? To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 770. Tiger Soul was now a low-grade Earth-tier demon weapon. In the Banished Land, it had swallowed a large amount of blood from demon gods and fierce beasts. The power contained in the blood had caused the green pearl on Tiger Soul to turn red in a short period of time. However, there were still traces of green light in the red. It hadn't reached the peak of low-grade Earth-tier yet. However, it was only a short distance away from leveling up. Don't worry. After killing the 9-headed venomous Jiao Emperor, its blood will definitely help you reach the peak of low-grade Earth tier. You'll be on the verge of leveling up. Di Shitian could feel the waves of excitement from Tiger Soul. He couldn't help but pat the blade lightly, his gaze unusually sharp. Rumble. Monstrous poison poured endlessly into the Jade Archive. The poison talisman grew at a speed visible to the naked eye, completing itself. The more complete it was, the more powerful it became as the source of all poisons. The devouring power it emitted reached its peak in an instant. There was a loud rumble. The entire 10,000 Poison Valley began to shake violently. Countless pitch-black poisonous gases began to churn wildly, rising from the ground. In the blink of an eye, they formed numerous frightening vortexes that appeared in the sky above the valley. These vortexes emitted a powerful suction force, gathering the poisonous gases from all directions. In the blink of an eye, they turned into 9 terrifying poisonous dragons that connected heaven and earth. The 9 poisonous dragons burrowed into the Emperor's Jade Archive. Great Tao Talisman, 10,000 poisons spring, heaven and earth poison, 10,000 poisons return to origin. Suddenly, the Emperor's Jade Archive shook violently, emitting a grand Great Tao heavenly sound. In the heavenly sound, there was a Sanskrit voice that sounded like a Great Tao edict. It was as if an edict had come from the underworld. Rumble. For a moment, the poisonous gas in the entire 10,000 Poison Valley seemed to have come to life. It was completely excited and violent. It crazily rushed into the Jade Archive from all directions like a tide. Countless poisonous gases surged out from the depths of the valley. They were on a pilgrimage, worshipping and throwing themselves into the 10,000 poisons spring. On the spot, the entire Imperial Jade Archive was enveloped by countless toxic toxins. 60%, 70%, 80%. Haha. 80%. I can't believe this poison talisman is 80% complete. Wonderful. Once I plunder all the poison in this valley, I'll definitely be able to form a complete talisman of the Great Tao. Underworld let out an excited cry. What's going on? The sword servant cried out in surprise. The originally dense poison gas was thinning at a speed visible to the naked eye. They stared in horror at the 9 terrifying poison dragons that appeared in the sky above the valley. Could it be that the Demon Emperor has arrived? Could this commotion be caused by him? Dao Enyu's eyes flashed with a cold light as he immediately said, "Sword slave, quick, the situation has changed. I'm afraid the demonic emperor won't come to the poison dragon pool. With the current commotion, it will definitely alarm the poison dragon emperor in the pool. Let's immediately move the god-killing crossbows to the outskirts of the valley. Wait for an opportunity to kill the demon emperor. The two of them did not hesitate. They quickly picked up the god-killing crossbows and moved to the periphery. However, he was also very careful when he moved. Roar. Rumble. Amidst a frightening dragon roar, the entire poison dragon pool began to churn wildly like a tsunami. It shook intensely, forming an incomparably large whirlpool within the pool. Within the whirlpool, 9 pitch-black flood dragon heads broke through the surface of the pool. The flood dragon's eyes shone with a cold, ominous light. Incomparable brutality, savagery, malevolence, and anger were emitted from that light. Boom! It was as if millions of tons of explosives had been thrown into the poison dragon pool, causing it to explode with a loud bang. Countless amounts of sludge shot out in all directions and landed on the ground, corroding large holes in the originally highly toxic ground. From this, it could be seen that the sludge in the swamp was extremely poisonous. Steal my poison. Kill. Amidst the rumbling, the entire poison dragon emperor emerged from the pool. This poisonous dragon was actually over 3,000 meters long. Its 9 heads danced wildly in the air, and its mouth was filled with fangs. Its body was densely covered in pitch-black scales that glowed with a cold, poisonous light. From the scales, pitch-black poisonous gas was released. On its back, there were 3 pairs of dragon wings. As they flapped, the poisonous gas in the air was blown away by a gale. This poison flood dragon was truly terrifying. The roar it let out showed that it was indeed intelligent. However, from the look in its eyes, it was still controlled by its vicious nature. It could not escape its vicious nature. Roar. With a roar, the 9-headed poison dragon emperor flapped its wings. A terrifying gale swept up from the ground as it soared into the air. The 1,000-meter-long flood dragon swayed, and its tail landed on the ground. Crack! A rumbling sound came from the ground. Where it had been smashed, countless terrifying spiderweb-like cracks appeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, the cracks spread in all directions. Crash! Wherever the venomous dragon emperor passed, pitch-black poisonous rain would fall from the sky. When it landed on the ground, it would corrode even the earth. In an instant, a torrential downpour poured down like arrows. Countless poisonous beasts in the valley fled in panic. The vast pressure caused countless poisonous beasts to tremble in fear. Then, he madly rushed straight towards Sakra's location. The poison dragon emperor is here. Di Shitian had already entered the 10,000 poison valley. Wherever he went, all the poison was immediately cleaned out. Standing in the valley, he could feel a terrifying pressure pressing down on him from afar. The roar was mixed with a kind of frenzied fury and viciousness. Xiao Chen raised his head and looked at the sky above the valley. He saw a huge poisonous cloud quickly surging toward his location. Within the poisonous cloud, there was a ferocious head with an ominous glint in its eyes. Its pitch-black dragon claws were faintly discernible within the poisonous cloud. Keek! Even this witch doesn't dare to provoke this poison dragon emperor. This time, there will be a good show to watch. The Witch of Myriad Wonders was standing in a hidden corner. The tip of her god-killing crossbow was already pointed in Di Shitian's direction. At this moment, seeing the poison dragon emperor charging towards Di Shitian, she couldn't help but reveal an interested expression. Let me deal with this dragon first. I'll have to trouble Mr. Di to hold the fort for me. When the peacock goddess saw the huge poisonous cloud, a trace of anger appeared in her eyes. She raised her eyebrows slightly and suddenly spoke to Di Shitian. All right. Sakra glanced at her. He knew that she wanted to fight with the venomous flood dragon emperor again because her elder brother had been injured by the venomous flood dragon emperor. He didn't stop her. He wanted to see with his own eyes how powerful the legendary celestial peacock maiden was. Heavenly fragrance poison repellent pill. The peacock goddess took out a snow-white pill with a serious expression and swallowed it. Instantly, a strange fragrance naturally emanated from her body. It permeated the air, silently purifying the poisonous gas that permeated the air. Roar! There was a soft cry. The peacock goddess's body emitted a five-colored light. In a flash, she transformed into a huge peacock that was at least 10,000 feet long. Her beautiful feathers glowed with a strange color. She flapped her wings and soared into the sky. Behind her were 5 slender divine feathers, each shining with a bright divine light. Within the divine feather, there was a rich power of 5 elements flowing continuously. Below her body, a pair of sharp claws shone with a cold light. Her eyes were especially sharp, as if they could pierce through the entire world. Rumble! The 9-headed venomous Jiao Emperor appeared in the air, bringing with it countless toxins. A hurricane swept towards the peacock, and at the same time, countless pitch-black toxins streaked through the air like arrows, whistling through the air as they engulfed the peacock. Peacock saw this and channeled the 9 revolutions mystic art. The crimson divine light of the 5 divine lights behind her swung forward and drew a bright crimson arc in the air. It contained an extremely rich fire origin source. Everywhere it passed, the poisonous rain that appeared in front of it was rapidly incinerated and annihilated at a speed visible to the naked eye. Although the exiled land restricted the power of the 5-colored divine light, it was still able to display a portion of the divine feather's power even if it couldn't display its full power. The divine feathers swept through the air like a divine sword. In an instant, the poisonous rain was destroyed. At the same time, an icy blue divine feather swept out, slashing towards the poison dragon emperor's head with a crimson horn. It swept past, wanting to cut off that head in an instant. Bang! However, the poison dragon emperor did not dodge. Instead, its eyes flashed fiercely as it swung its claws towards the peacock's head. The pitch-black claw light tore through the air, bringing with it a fishy stench. It contained a deadly poison. However, the peacock goddess was obviously very experienced in battle. She swung her body and lowered her head. The 3rd divine feather on her back shone with a golden light as it slashed towards the dragon's claw. In an instant, a violent collision occurred. A terrifying force swept out in all directions. Even the void seemed to be in a strange state of distortion. Roar! The 9-headed poison dragon emperor seemed to feel that it had been provoked. Its 18 eyes flashed fiercely as it looked angrily at the peacock in front of it. Suddenly, the head with the crimson horn opened its mouth and spat at the peacock goddess. Kai kai kai! Instantly, a red light covered the sky as it surged towards the peacock goddess. It was billions of drops of poisonous water. Within the poisonous water, there was a terrifying fire energy. Wherever it passed, even the air became hot. I've already used this fire poison in the past. Watch me use my divine feather to destroy you. The peacock goddess sneered as she looked at the poisonous rain coming towards her. With a thought, the icy blue divine feather behind her swept across the air and collided with the poisonous rain. In an instant, a hot and cold aura surged in the air, causing the air to distort. Divine feather sword strike. The peacock goddess's body emitted a dazzling 5-colored light, and the feathers on her body stood up. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com and read more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 771. Clang clang clang. Clanging sounds of slaughter could be heard in the void, as if countless swords were being unsheathed in an instant. The feathers on the peacock's body exploded one after another and stood upright. They were like sharp swords, bursting forth with astonishing killing power. Kill, said the peacock coldly. Suddenly, the colorful feathers of the peacock glowed with a divine light and shot out from the peacock's body. They looked like sharp swords that had been unsheathed. A terrifying murderous aura shot up into the sky. The peacock's feathers turned into sharp swords at the same time and emitted a sword cry. A vast amount of power burst out from the peacock's body and swept through the entire valley. The invisible sword Chi left terrifying sword marks on the ground of the valley. At this moment, Peacock had fully unleashed the combat strength of an ancient Fey sage. 100,000 swords streaked across the sky, instantly piercing through the void and enveloping the massive body of the nine-headed poisonous Jiao Emperor. They were going to grind the poisonous Jiao Emperor to dust and cut it into 1,000 pieces. Numerous swords covered every inch of space around the poison dragon emperor. One could faintly see sharp cracks appearing in the void under the sword. However, as soon as these sword cracks appeared, they quickly healed. Even so, Peacock's amazing combat power was fully displayed in this small space. Boom, boom, boom. Under the onslaught of these 10,000 swords, almost all dodging was sealed. It directly slammed into the venomous flood dragon emperor's body, colliding with its pitch-black scales. Terrifying sparks flew as the two were locked in a stalemate. Even though the Peacock's battle techniques were unparalleled, the venomous flood dragon emperor's scales were incredibly hard. It was comparable to an ancient tycoon, and was one of the strongest vicious beasts in the land of exiles. Coupled with the fact that he had been absorbing deadly poison for countless years, he had developed a terrifying poison body. He was practically invulnerable to weapons, water, and fire. Ang 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 ang. Every single one of the scales on the venomous dragon emperor's body emitted terrifying sparks. Even with the battle prowess of the Peacock's heaven-ranked body tempering technique, the 9 Revolutions' mysterious art, it was unable to completely suppress the venomous dragon emperor. Even so, the venomous dragon emperor was still howling in pain due to the terrifying killing power contained within the sword. In the eyes of the 18 dragons, an ominous glint burst forth in an instant. Roar! Around the venomous dragon emperor's body, the scales on its body suddenly opened up and stood erect, spewing out countless pitch-black poisonous chi. In an instant, it was fed back to all the feather swords, and the tyrannical and ferocious power instantly sent all the feather swords flying. Ha! The peacock let out a cry, and the 100,000 feathers turned into rays of light and returned to her body. Crash! However, at the same time, 6 of the venomous dragon emperor's heads sprayed out poisonous water at her. On each of the 6 heads, there was a horn, and the color of each horn was different: red, yellow, gold, blue, cyan, and green. Of the 6, the first 5 contained the poison of the 5 elements, while the last one seemed to have a strange life force within it. As soon as it was spat out, it immediately turned into a 6-colored poisonous rain and shot toward the peacock like sharp arrows. This poisonous rain was extremely poisonous. If one were to come into contact with a single drop of it, they would immediately lose their ability to fight. Of the 5 elements, there is also the poison of life. This venomous dragon emperor really did eat the legendary purple core begonia and obtained 9 of the 10,000 poisons. The peacock cried out, and with a thought, the 5 divine feathers on her back fluttered in the air. Using the principle of mutual promotion and suppression of the 5 elements, she was able to neutralize the poison of the 5 elements. Peacock, this 9-headed venomous dragon emperor's 9 poisons are the most poisonous in the world. It will be of great help in perfecting the poison talisman in I's Jade Archive. Why don't you leave it to me? At this moment, the peacock heard a familiar voice ring out in her ear. The voice was naturally filled with confidence and calmness. She couldn't help but turn to look, only to see Di Shitian's left foot stomp on a large rock, and the rock under his foot instantly shattered into dust. His entire body soared into the air. He calmly landed on the peacock's back. Facing the poisonous rain, he didn't have to be angry to show his might, and there was a strange calmness about him. The Extreme Emperor Jade Archive continued to spin. It did not stop devouring the poisonous chi of heaven and earth because of the poisonous dragon emperor's arrival. It continued to devour the poisonous energy around it. The great Tao of heaven's melody of the poison talisman in the Jade Archive blazed brightly. The Tao of poison, everything was included. Fire was poison, water was poison, earth was poison, metal was poison, wood was poison, life was poison, time was poison, space was poison, all things in the world were poison. Poison, 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 poison is the great Tao. It poisons all things to death, causes the world to decay, and poisons the heavenly Tao to death. Terrifying poison techniques gathered into the heavenly melody of the great Tao of poison. Smelling the Tao of poison, it was as if there was nothing in the world that wasn't poison. It was truly chilling. But in the heavenly melody, in the 10,000 Poison Valley, the poison energy seemed to have heard the call of its mother. It excitedly surged into the Jade Archive from all directions. It was a fatal attraction to poison. This attraction reached its peak when the poison talisman in the Jade Archive reached 80%. Jade Archive of the Emperor, plunder the poison within the poison to complete the talisman. Within the Jade Archive, a powerful suction force suddenly burst forth. Instantly, one could only see that the sky full of poisonous rain that was originally pouncing towards the peacock, suddenly changed direction in a strange manner. One after another, like young swallows returning to their nest, they excitedly entered the Jade Archive of the Emperor of Extremity. Ha ha, the poison of the 5 elements, the poison of life, quickly merge into the talisman. Dark's eyes shone with excitement as he let out a strange cry. The Extreme Emperor Jade Archive had a huge appetite. In just a blink of an eye, it spun in a circle and swallowed the 6 kinds of poisonous rain. As soon as the 6 kinds of poisons entered the Jade Archive, the poison talisman inside became unusually excited. It suddenly released a strong suction force and plundered the 6 kinds of poisons in one go. Boom, boom, boom. The moment the 6 poisons entered the talisman, the entire talisman burst forth with an unprecedented poisonous light. The talisman, which had already been repaired to 80%, suddenly grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was once again repaired to 90%. Faintly, the heavenly sound that came from the talisman became denser and more vast. Roar! When the venomous Dragon Emperor saw Sakura appear, his eyes blazed fiercely. With one glance, he saw the Emperor's Jade Archive that was still devouring the poisonous gas. How could he not know that the poisonous gas in the valley had become thinner because of this demon? The fury in his mind burned even more fiercely. You deserve to die. The poison Dragon Emperor spat out a sentence filled with murderous intent. The dragon claw under his body suddenly stretched out and pinched down towards Di Shitian's head, wanting to crush his head into smithereens with one claw. Under the claw, the void twisted and trembled, as if it was about to be locked into a cage. Die! With a terrifying roar, the head with the red horn opened its mouth and a tyrannical red light shot towards Di Shitian's chest like a bolt of lightning. Its speed was simply indescribable. This 9-headed poison dragon emperor is indeed terrifying. A casual swipe of its claw can actually seal the void and shatter it. With this kind of power, if the 2 of us were to be hit by its claw, who knows how many bones in our bodies would break. This poison dragon emperor is vicious. He even dared to spit out his own poison pill. The power contained in this poison pill can even turn 1,000-jong-tall mountain into dust. Even if he doesn't die, he'll be poisoned to death by the poison in the pill. The sword servant watched the intense battle in the gorge from a concealed corner, and a wisp of surprise appeared in his eyes. No wonder it said that it's extremely difficult to kill this poison dragon emperor unless one can break through the void and leave the cage. Dao Enyu's expression was grave. However, the stronger this poison dragon emperor is, the better. It would be best if it could directly poison the demonic beast emperor to death. However, that Jade Archive is strange. It can absorb poison. I'm afraid that the poison won't be able to harm him. If the poison that the poison dragon emperor relies on isn't effective, then the demonic beast emperor might end up seriously injured. Let's quickly prepare the god-executing crossbows and wait for an opportunity to kill him. With a cold expression, he grabbed the god-executing crossbow and began to aim at Di Shitian's location. An invisible killing intent was contained within. This demonic beast emperor actually has a treasure that can absorb poison. However, this treasure will be mine in a moment. Since you've given me such a treasure, I'll definitely let you fall like an immortal. The Witch of Myriad Mysteries looked at the Jade Archive with a look of possessiveness. A demon god was a blatant robber of all the resources in the world to increase his battle strength. Poison pill. The 9-headed poisonous Jiao Emperor actually spat out a poison pill. It's trying to kill you. The power contained in the poison pill is enough to blast an ancient giant into pieces and poison him into powder. Nether cried out in a strange voice. If I don't show my power, this poison dragon emperor will really think that I'm a sick cat. Ultimate Emperor Creation Palm. Di Shitian's originally calm body suddenly burst forth with a shocking aura. It was as if he had suddenly transformed from a mortal into a majestic and domineering ancient emperor. His body naturally exuded a domineering aura, and his tiger eyes contained boundless majesty. It was as if he had become incomparably tall in an instant. His right hand did not even pull out the tiger soul as he grabbed the poison pill in front of him. Ultimate Emperor Creation Palm, Xing his circlet. The palm that was thrown out contained a supreme will. When it was thrown out, a vast and endless Xing He suddenly appeared in the palm. Within the Xing He, countless stars floated up and down. Around the palm, countless stars appeared, creating a scene of stars. Within the palm, the Xing He turned upside down. In an instant, it was as if a vast and boundless Xing He had suddenly appeared and trapped the poison pill within the boundless Xing He. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com to read more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 772. It's a new week, and it's the Dragon Boat Festival again. If you have a vote, please vote for me. Di Shitian had cultivated the Book of Imperial Shocking World to the 10th volume. His Black Lotus had transformed into a primordial spirit, and his consciousness had been refined. All sorts of insights had turned into a supreme will, causing the various battle skills he had created to undergo a transformation. Wherever his will went, the power of the battle skills would be pushed to the extreme. With a single thought, he could create the heavens and earth, and with a single thought, he could destroy the heavens and earth. The fusion of the supreme will and battle skills was enough to allow the battle skills to reach an unimaginable level. The various battle skills in the Book of Imperial Shocking World had all been refined by him countless times. They were the quintessence of the battle skills, and could be called peerless battle skills. Within battle skills, one could give birth to a supreme will, and the first thing that truly allowed one's battle skills to contain a supreme will was the birth of a primordial spirit. At this moment, Di Shitian was as cold as ice. His heart was as ruthless as a blade, and as cold as steel. In his palm, a supreme will that could cause Xing He to revolve and reverse Xing He completely appeared. After being bound by Xing He, no matter how strong you were, you could forget about going against Xing He's control. You would be suppressed and bound by Xing He. After being caught by Xing He, you would be torn into thousands of pieces by Xing He's power. It could be used to bind, and it could be used to kill. As soon as he made his move, he directly pulled the poison pill into Xing He. Xing He was formed by countless stars. At this moment, the stars reversed, and the terrifying power of the stars suppressed the poison pill, as if it was an independent world. Like Xing He in his palm, the connection between the poison pill and the poisonous dragon emperor was severed. Roar! The poisonous dragon emperor was enraged. Its dragon claws exploded with resplendent poisonous light, and it directly clawed at Di Shitian. At the same time, the divine dragon swung its tail, and the pitch-black tail of the dragon whipped towards Di Shitian. This tail could directly cause an ancient giant's body to explode. Flesh and blood exploded. Kill. It was enraged. The poisonous dragon emperor had never been so enraged before. This demon had not only absorbed its poisonous gas in the valley, but had also dared to take one of its poison pills. This was a great humiliation. This was the most direct provocation. In the 10,000 Poison Valley, the absolute ruler's dignity had been challenged. It had to kill this demon and eat him alive. Your poison won't be able to do anything to this emperor, but I'm not afraid of you, the venomous Jiao emperor. Di Shitian's body was brimming with fighting spirit. Clang. Tiger Soul answered and came out of its scabbard. The golden saber light gave off a sharp murderous aura. Extreme Emperor's immortal body, he roared in his heart as his flesh and blood began to circulate. He activated the immortal body of the Extreme Emperor. Immediately, 4 immortal divine rings appeared from his flesh and blood, revolving around his body. The air was filled with sorrow, joy, boundless anger, and a strange fragrance. All of these things instantly enveloped the venomous Dragon Emperor. Roar. The anger in the poisonous dragon emperor's mind was instantly corroded by anger. It completely exploded. Its eyes turned scarlet, as if they were about to spit fire. The head of the dragon whose poison pill had been taken opened its mouth, revealing a mouthful of sharp teeth. It roared and bit. Peng peng peng. Poisonous claws filled with poison, a ferocious dragon tail, and a mouthful of sharp teeth appeared directly on Di Shitian's body. Each of these three attacks seemed to be able to tear the heavens and earth apart. They were filled with wild ferocity and incomparable brutality. Ordinary ancient demonic sages would not dare to face them head-on. However, Sakra's aura exuded an aura of supremacy. The eternal divine ring revolved around him, blocking the ferocious and tyrannical attacks as they collided. The power of the immortal body was completely released. After cultivating 4 immortal divine rings day in and day out, it was simply too powerful. The dragon bit down on the halo of sorrow. The halo of sorrow rotated, and like a giant grinder, the dragon teeth in its mouth were instantly broken. Blood flowed everywhere. Its claws slammed into the halo of happiness. The halo rotated, and terrifying cracks appeared on the dragon claws. The dragon tail was also domineeringly blown away by the halo of taste. Rumble. The void was violently shaken, and a visible distortion could be seen with the naked eye. With a bang, it began to shatter. Even the void was shattered by the violent collision. Kill. A strange light flashed in the peacock's eyes. The 5 divine feathers on its back spread out in a fan shape, and fiercely swept towards the head of the dragon that had lost its poison pill. The divine feathers contained the essence of the 5 elements, and were incomparably heavy. Without the poison pill in its body, the divine feathers swept past, and the dragon's brain was cut into pieces. Clang. At the same time, Sakra grasped the opportunity of an instant. The tiger soul in his right hand instantly streaked across the sky at an astonishing speed. On his arm, the muscles surged like a horned dragon, activating a vast and mighty power to activate the tiger soul. The golden arc of light was abnormally resplendent, and within that resplendent light, there was a blood-red color. Catcher. The poisonous dragon emperor's first head was cleaved in half by the tiger soul. The huge head flew high into the air, and a pillar of blood shot into the sky. Waves of tiger roars came from the tiger soul. The green pearl released a strange suction force, and in one fell swoop, swallowing the dragon blood into the tiger soul, causing the blade to ripple with a dense blood-red light. Roar. The poisonous dragon emperor was completely enraged. Its 8 heads roared towards the sky, and fiercely inhaled into the valley. The dense poisonous gas in the valley was quickly swallowed into its stomach. Boom boom boom. As it swallowed the poisonous dragon emperor's body began to expand at a terrifying speed. 10,000 feet, 20,000 feet, 30,000 feet. In the blink of an eye, it actually expanded to a huge body of 10,000 feet, and a pitch-black poisonous claw that was like Mount Tai slammed down towards the Sakra. The aura on its body had actually reached the peak of the ancient giant level all of a sudden. Its body was constantly emitting a resplendent poisonous light. This claw was so terrifying that it could shatter the heavens and the earth. The vast power it contained caused the heavens and the earth to collapse. Bang! The halo of wrath took the brunt of the attack. The halo of wrath flickered, and in less than a breath's time, it violently exploded, releasing a terrifying killing power. However, the dragon scales on the dragon claw blocked the attack, and the claw was about to land on the head that had been protected by the halo of wrath. Suddenly, the poisonous dragon emperor's ferocious nature was terrifying to the extreme. It had borrowed the power of the 10,000 Poison Valley to increase its strength by more than a few times. This burst of power was unstoppable. It was unstoppable. However, just as it broke through the halo and was about to hit his head, Indra's heart turned cold. He turned the tiger soul blade in his hand and fiercely stabbed towards the location of the flood dragon's reverse scale in a tyrannical manner. Both hands gripped the hilt of the sword, and even his muscles were squeezing out every ounce of strength at an unprecedented speed. Dharma power. The 66 Dharma powers behind him danced domineeringly, and a vast amount of Dharma power was instantly added to the tiger soul, causing the tiger soul to suddenly contain a shocking amount of power and unleash an endless amount of sharpness. Catcher. The tiger soul was unimaginably sharp, and it stabbed into the reverse scale. At the same time, its neck tilted, and its head violently moved to the side to avoid the dragon claw. However, its left shoulder was hit squarely. Poof! Di Shitian's monstrous body shook violently, and the overbearing poison poured into his body. In the face of this terrifying power, the bones in his body began to crack at a speed visible to the naked eye. They were crushed into powder, and his internal organs were severely injured. He could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. At the same time, the poisonous Dragon Emperor did not have it easy either. Its reverse scale had been stabbed, and pitch-black blood spurted out like a fountain. It was devoured by the tiger soul in large mouthfuls. The green pearl on the tiger soul was rapidly turning blood red at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was so red that it seemed as if blood was about to drip out. Di Shitian and the poisonous Dragon Emperor were both heavily injured. Ultimate Emperor Immortal Body, reconstruct my body. Di Shitian was unusually calm as he spat out a sentence. Immediately, he activated the Ultimate Emperor Immortal Body. His flesh and blood wriggled, and the remaining 3 immortal divine rings began to rotate rapidly. The flesh and blood in his body began to be pulverized at a speed visible to the naked eye. At the same time, the boundless power of desire and the true dragon's purple vapor continuously poured into him from the void. The pulverized flesh and blood quickly gathered together and reconstructed. The reconstructed flesh and blood, and even the bones that had been shattered by the poisonous Dragon Emperor were reconstructed. Furthermore, the bones glowed with a divine light. It could be seen that after the reconstruction, the bones had become even stronger and more durable. At the same time, the demonic Dragon Emperor's body had become even stronger. Now is the time. The moment they saw Di Shitian and the poisonous Dragon Emperor mutually injure each other, the eyes of the hidden sword slave, and witch of myriad mysteries could not help but light up at the same time. The moment they saw both sides mutually injuring each other, the same thought appeared in their minds at the same time. The time had come. Sword slave, quick, aim the god-slaying arrow at Di Shitian's heart. We must kill the demonic Dragon Emperor in one shot. Once we kill the demonic Dragon Emperor, when we return, Master will definitely reward us handsomely. Cold killing intent appeared on Sword Slave's face as he stood in front of the god-slaying crossbow and fiercely pulled back the string. A pitch-black god-slaying arrow that was close to 1,000 feet long was quickly narked and pulled back to its full length. All of the patterns on the god-slaying crossbow began to strangely flow. The surrounding yuan qi actually automatically gathered towards the god-slaying crossbow and condensed on the god-slaying arrow. The tip of the arrow was directly aimed at Di Shitian's heart. The two of you, pull the god-slaying crossbows. Be careful, don't shoot him to death. Leave him with a single breath of life. Aim for his abdomen. This demoness wants to see his heavily injured appearance and adjust his position, allowing this demoness to pierce through the reverse scale of the venomous Jiao Emperor before landing on Indra. This time, I want to kill the poisonous Dragon Emperor at the same time. The Witch of Myriad Mysteries' eyes were filled with excitement as she gave the order. Yes. The two 8-armed demonic gods did not dare to be negligent. They quickly narked the god-slaying crossbow and directly aimed at the poisonous Dragon Emperor. After piercing through the reverse scale, they could once again shoot at Di Shitian. Whoosh! Whoosh! Without the slightest hesitation, 2 sharp sounds of something breaking through the air resounded throughout the 10,000 Poison Valley. Within the sharp sounds, there was a terrifying killing intent. It's the god-slaying crossbow and the god-slaying arrow. When the peacock turned to look, it was so shocked that all of its feathers instantly stood up. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 773. Today is the Dragon Boat Festival. I was dragged out for a drink by a friend and almost got drunk. Luckily, I came back standing. My mind is still a little hazy. Haha. Happy Dragon Boat Festival, my brothers. Mr. DI, be careful. This is a god-slaying crossbow that can kill an ancient giant. Once it hits a vital point, even an immortal body will be pierced through. Furthermore, this arrow contains the power of the god-slaying crossbow. Even an immortal primordial spirit will be severely injured or even destroyed. This crossbow can only be found in the city of exiles and Modu. There are only 9 of them in total. Someone is plotting against you. Peacock cried out in alarm. Looking at the 2 god-slaying crossbows shooting at him from 2 different directions, he felt his heart go cold. Even the space around him seemed to be locked down by the god-slaying crossbows. He felt that no matter where he went, he would be pierced through by the god-slaying crossbows. The most frightening thing was that it wasn't just 1 crossbow, but 2 crossbows shooting at Di Shitian at the same time. The power of this god-slaying crossbow was something that even ancient giants would have to avoid. Since ancient times, no less than 10 had died to this crossbow. Its ferocious reputation had been forged with fresh blood. Someone is plotting to kill me. Could it be Dan Huang or Modu? Di Shitian's heart was in turmoil. The bones in his body had been broken by the venomous Dragon Emperor's claw, and he couldn't continue fighting. Although he was using the ultimate Emperor immortal body to reconstruct his body, this process would take at least a few breaths of time, even if all 3 immortal divine rings were operating at the same time. With the speed of the god-slaying arrow, it should have been able to pierce through his demonic body before this. Yet, the arrow chose to do so at this moment. It was obvious that the arrow wanted to kill him right here and now. In the land of exile, only Modu and the Alchemy Emperor were the most suspicious people who wanted to kill him. When I entered the 10,000 Poison Valley, I felt a sudden sense of danger. I thought this feeling came from the 9-headed venomous Dragon Emperor, but I didn't expect the real source to be here. However, do you really think that I won't be able to completely block your attacks just because I'm heavily injured? I don't want to give up my life. Anyone who wants it will have to pay a painful price. Di Shitian's heart was as cold as iron. His eyes narrowed into slits in an instant, and a sharp cold light shot out from within. Right now, he and the venomous WM Emperor were both heavily injured. However, it would be a huge mistake to assume that he didn't have the ability to resist. Bell of Heaven's Samsara, Di Shitian shouted in his heart. Suddenly, the Bell of Heaven's Samsara, which was being nurtured in the demon residence, came out and turned into a ray of flowing light. It appeared above his head, shining with specks of starlight. As it spun, it exuded the supreme concept of the Heaven's Samsara. Suddenly, the crystal-like ancient bell enlarged. All of a sudden, Di Shitian and Peacock were trapped within the Bell of Samsara. At that moment, only the Bell of Heaven's Samsara, which was thousands of feet long, stood in mid-air. As it spun, countless Xinghe circled around it. On the bell's body, one could faintly see the endless cycle of reincarnation. Mid-grade carnate spiritual treasure, Bell of Heaven's Samsara. Even though the banished lands severely limited the power of magic treasures, with the quality of the Bell of Samsara, it could directly trap Di Shitian within it. That was the strongest defense. Although the god-slaying crossbow was strong, it might not be able to penetrate this ancient bell. The body of the ancient bell was the strongest defense. The ultimate emperor indestructible body. After summoning the Bell of Heaven's Samsara and enveloping his body, Di Shitian did not hesitate to activate his cultivation technique. The 3 glassy divine rings around him moved at a speed visible to the naked eye, crushing his flesh and bones inch by inch. At the same time, they regenerated his flesh and blood. In the blink of an eye, the refinement had reached his chest. Once completed, his injuries would be healed. What? Another carnate spiritual treasure. The Witch of Myriad Mystics' peach blossom eyes shone brightly. The smile on her face became even wider. He actually took out another ancient bell. No matter how strong he is, he won't be able to block the attack of the god-slaying crossbow. Sword slave, bring me another god-slaying arrow. Dao Enyu's heart raced. He was afraid that one arrow would not be able to kill him, so he took out another god-slaying arrow and quickly placed it on the god-slaying crossbow. At the same time, he said, someone is secretly trying to assassinate the demonic emperor. It could be someone from the demonic capital. Only the city of exiles and the demonic capital had god-slaying crossbows. It was not difficult to guess the identity of the other party. No matter who it is, the other party's goal is to kill the demonic emperor. Since we have the same goal, we are friends. After killing the demonic emperor, we can return to report on our mission. The sword slave said nonchalantly. Whoosh whoosh. The speed of the god-slaying arrow was unimaginably fast. At that moment, they looked at the situation in the valley. In mid-air, a 1,000-foot-tall ancient bell exuded a boundless pressure. 2 god-slaying arrows pierced through the air, one from the left and one from the right. Between the god-slaying arrow and the ancient bell was a 9-headed venomous serpent emperor. The god-slaying arrow shone brightly as it shot towards the reverse scale on the venomous serpent emperor's neck. Roar. The aura of death from the god-slaying arrow caused the remaining heads of the venomous serpent emperor to reveal expressions of fear. Endless ferocity shot out from its eyes. The scales on its body opened up violently, emitting a resplendent poisonous light. Traces of dense, almost tangible, poisonous gas gushed out from its body, enveloping its entire body. However, it had already been stabbed by Di Shitian's tiger soul when its reverse scale appeared. The moment the tiger soul pierced into its body, it had immediately devoured a large amount of its blood essence, causing it to suffer a heavy injury. Its entire aura was dispirited. Bang! The god-slaying arrow came with unparalleled ferocity, slamming into the reverse scale like a bolt of lightning. Everywhere it went, the poisonous gas outside could not even resist. In an instant, it was blown away, and the sharp god-slaying arrow landed squarely on the reverse scale. Crack! With a crisp sound, countless terrifying cracks appeared on the reverse scale. Then, like a spiderweb, the reverse scale shattered into countless fragments. The god-slaying arrow pierced unstoppably into the venomous serpent emperor's body. Ang 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 ang! The venomous serpent emperor had already been stabbed, and the reverse scale was a vital point of a serpent dragon. Saying that it was heavily injured was already a light matter. Now that it had been pierced by the god-slaying arrow, the terrifying power of the god-slaying arrow instantly exploded, rushing into its body and launching a terrifying attack on its soul. It immediately began to howl in pain. Blood splattered everywhere. Blood splattered everywhere. The god-slaying arrow was indeed powerful enough to kill an ancient giant. It directly pierced through the venomous serpent emperor's body. Then, without stopping, it continued to bombard the bell of heaven's samsara, where Di Shitian was. Clang! Clang! The 2 god-slaying arrows struck the bell of heaven's samsara one after another. The domineering power contained within the arrows instantly sent the bell flying backwards. Bang! The terrifying impact caused the space around the ancient bell to distort horribly as it was sent flying back thousands of feet. The bell of heaven's samsara trembled violently, letting out a terrifying roar. Countless stars flickered, and countless worlds within the bell seemed to be destroyed in an instant. In an instant, the light on the bell became abnormally dim. It seemed to be on the verge of collapse. The place where the god-slaying arrow had struck had a terrifying depression. However, it still stubbornly supported the bell, preventing it from being destroyed. What kind of bell is this? Its defensive power is actually so shocking. Even the god-slaying arrow can't penetrate it. The 2 8-armed demon gods were so shocked that their eyeballs almost fell out. They could not believe what they were seeing. Quick, shoot again. Dao Enyu's face was cold as he quickly pulled back the god-slaying arrow. He shot it out fiercely. Whoosh! A sharp sound instantly broke through the air, crashing into the bell of heaven's samsara again. Clang! The bell of heaven's samsara suffered a heavy blow and was sent flying again, causing the space beneath the bell to distort violently. The starlight shook. At this moment, the bell of heaven's samsara, which had 3 depressions in it, spun rapidly and flew into the air. In the blink of an eye, it shrunk, revealing Di Shitian and Peacock. The ancient bell shone with the light of reincarnation, and the depressions that were caused by the bell of heaven's samsara started to recover rapidly. Only to see Sakura emitting a vast pressure from his body. His expression was ice-cold as he fiercely swept his gaze in the direction of Dao Nu and Sword Nu. His gaze was like lightning and incomparably sharp as he coldly spat out a sentence, "How dare you scheme against me? If I don't kill you today, the other cultivators will really think that I'm just a sick cat." "Peacock, kill." He was about to urge Peacock to kill Dao Nu and Sword Nu. The fury in his heart reached a peak in an instant. He had never been the type to swallow his pride after being plotted against. Tolerance was like a knife above a knife. If he could tolerate anything, he would be a bastard. Whoever wants to kill me, I'll kill them. Whoever wants to scheme against me, I'll stomp them to death. Roar. Peacock raised its head and let out a high-pitched cry. Its body shone with a five-colored divine light. It flapped its wings and was about to fly towards Dao Nu and Sword Nu. Kill. At this moment, the poisonous Dragon Emperor, which had been hit by an arrow at its reverse scale, spun its 8 heads like wind and fire wheels. Its 16 eyes stared fiercely at Di Shitian. Its killing intent reached its peak. Blood splattered from its reverse scale like a geyser, carrying with it a tragic aura. There was only one crazy thought in its mind: it's him, it's this despicable person who plotted against me. Even if I die today, I'll take him down with me. Although the venomous Worm Emperor was intelligent, the vicious nature of its body had been corroded by the venomous Worm Emperor's insanity. Previously, when Sakura had plundered the 10,000 Poison Valley's poisonous chi, it had treated him as its most hated enemy. Now that it had been struck by an arrow, it had directly blamed Sakura. When it saw Di Shitian emerge from the Bell of Heaven's samsara, all of its hatred exploded. Before the power of the God Slayer could destroy its soul, it roared and charged towards Di Shitian. Rumble. In his body, all the poison energy exploded out and gathered together. With a loud explosion, he actually rushed to the front of Sakura and self-detonated fiercely. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com and read more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 774. The venomous Dragon Emperor's reverse scale had been pierced by the god-slaying arrow, and its god-slaying power had corroded its soul. It knew that it would not be able to survive, so at the last moment, it charged toward Di Shitian without hesitation and self-detonated. Rumble. The venomous Dragon Emperor's battle power was comparable to that of an ancient powerhouse. The power of this self-detonation reached an unimaginable level. Berserk and destructive power completely erupted. It was as if a 1,000,000-ton atomic bomb had been dropped in an instant. Its power and destructive power exploded 100 times, no, 1,000 times. In an instant, Di Shitian was completely engulfed in the explosion. Not good. Di Shitian's expression changed drastically, and a sense of shock welled up in his heart. Even he had not expected that the venomous Dragon Emperor would self-detonate without hesitation. This self-detonation was like the end of the world. At the center of the explosion, the entire void collapsed, and the surrounding heaven and earth seemed to cave in. It formed a terrifying area like a black hole. It was filled with a violent and destructive power. Countless tyrannical and terrifying poisonous powers frantically swept out in all directions, sweeping across the entire 10,000 Poison Valley. Ultimate Emperor, indestructible body, Bell of Heaven's samsara. Di Shitian was inwardly shocked, but at the same time, a terrifying calmness appeared in his heart. The Ultimate Emperor tyrannical heart mantra was activated in his mind, and the 4 immortal divine rings quickly spun out of his flesh and blood, protecting his monster body. The Bell of Heaven's samsara instantly enlarged, and the mouth of the bell pointed downwards, enveloping him and Peacock once again. The bell released the light of billions of stars, the light of reincarnation. The faint sound of reincarnation constantly reverberated. Bang bang bang. The destructive power crazily slammed into the Bell of Heaven's samsara. Mr. D.I., what should we do now? This venomous Dragon Emperor is so ferocious. Its self-detonation is comparable to the attack of a peerless powerhouse. Under the cover of the Bell of Heaven's samsara, Peacock's body flashed with light and she turned into her human form. She looked out from the bell and her eyes were filled with shock. The venomous serpent emperor's self-destruction was truly too terrifying. Countless scars appeared on the surface of the heaven's samsara bell, and countless terrifying depressions appeared. The bell's body became uneven, and the light on the ancient bell flickered as if it was in danger of collapsing at any moment. What a terrifying self-explosion! Di Shitian's gaze was unprecedentedly solemn. This scene was absolutely beyond his expectations. At this moment, he couldn't even escape into his inner world. Although the inner world was an independent world outside of heaven and earth, it also existed between heaven and earth. It was only isolated from the outside world's power of heaven and earth. If it was an ordinary attack, escaping into the inner world would be the best way to dodge it. However, at this moment, watching the void outside being destroyed inch by inch, the scene of collapse, and everything being annihilated. Once he entered the inner world, the void in front of him was constantly being destroyed, and even the inner world was in danger of collapsing. Crazy Di, damn it, this damned dragon is actually so ferocious. If this was outside, with your eye of heavenly punishment god, extreme emperor's way, and various other mystiques, you might be able to open a path of survival. But in this damned place of exile, your mystiques can't be used at all. What should we do now? You just finished forging the bell of heaven's samsara. Although it is a middle-grade carnate spiritual treasure, I'm afraid it won't be able to withstand such a terrifying destructive power. Nether roared anxiously. Boom boom boom. The venomous dragon emperor's self-destruction caused the heavens to change color. It completely exploded, covering the entire 10,000 Poison Valley. Everywhere it went, the ground cracked and collapsed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Countless terrifying spiderweb-like cracks appeared. Large amounts of poisonous grass and flowers were destroyed in an instant. Not good. Run. When the sword and saber slaves saw this, their expressions changed. Without thinking, they turned around and tried to quickly escape from the explosion. However, the destructive power produced by the explosion was so fast that it was simply terrifying. In just an instant, the moment they turned around, the pitch-black poisonous power and the violent destructive power fiercely swept them in. Invincible saber emperor body. Invincible sword emperor body. The sword and saber slaves used their unique body-refining techniques at the same time. Countless saber chi and sword chi burst out from their bodies, as if they had turned into an extremely tough ancient saber and sword. However, even though they had manifested their battle constitution, they were still poisoned by the overbearing poison. The violent destructive force instantly ground the two of them to dust. Not even a speck of dust was left behind. They died on the spot. On the other side, the Witch of Myriad Wonder saw that the situation was not good. She immediately moved at an uncanny speed to several thousand feet away and continued to escape. However, the two eight-armed demonic gods were not so lucky. When they turned around to escape, they were also swept into the explosion. Just like the sword and saber slaves, they were ground into dust in the blink of an eye. In the 10,000 Poison Valley, countless poisonous beasts were also killed in the explosion. Countless mournful cries resounded in the air. Rumble. In the sky above the 10,000 Poison Valley, an incomparably huge pitch-black mushroom cloud soared. Contained within that black cloud was a terrifying and tyrannical poisonous energy. A flying beast was hit by the cloud. Its body was instantly corroded until only its bones were left. It died on the spot. Clang. Sakura, who was engulfed by the self-destruction, used the Bell of Heaven's samsara to resist the impact. However, the power of the self-destruction was too terrifying. Even with the power of the Bell of Heaven's samsara, there was no way to unleash the power of the Bell of Heaven's samsara in the Banished Lands. Its power was severely restricted and the bell itself resisted the impact. Under the continuous impact, it could only hold on for a moment. The ancient bell let out a mournful cry and turned into a ray of flowing light. It rushed into Sakura's body and was severely injured. Di Shitian was calm when the Bell of Heaven's samsara was damaged. With a thought, the undying divine ring burst out with dazzling purple-gold divine light. It protected his entire body. At the same time, The peacock fully activated the 9 revolutions mystic art. The 5-colored divine light surrounded its body, protecting it with the cycle of the 5 elements. Bang! Bang! Crack! The halo of wrath, which had not reached the phenomenal stage, could not last more than 10 seconds before it was smashed into pieces. As for the remaining undying divine rings, they were destroyed one after another. Terrifying poison and destructive power rushed into the monster's body in an instant. In an instant, countless terrifying cracks appeared on the tyrannical treasure body, and purplish gold blood continuously seeped out. Demon refining cauldron, suppress the demon residents, refine all kinds of yuan qi and devour all things. Sakura didn't panic. He shouted softly, and the demon refining cauldron in his body emitted a bright divine light. It spun crazily at an unprecedented speed, emitting an endless devouring power. It quickly sucked in the countless toxic and destructive forces that rushed into his body and quickly refined them. The power of the demon refining cauldron was fully displayed. However, every inch of space within the 10th grade Black Lotus was filled with pure ultimate emperor power. There was no way it could contain any more energy. Waves of pure yuan qi were refined into pure carnate liquefied origin energy. It flowed out of the cauldron at a speed visible to the naked eye and poured into the demon residents. The demon refining cauldron was like a spring, constantly spewing out carnate liquefied origin energy. In the blink of an eye, it flooded the entire demon residence. A series of explosions and collapses covered the entire 10,000 Poison Valley. This kind of unrestrained destruction lasted for no less than an hour. The terrifying tide of energy finally calmed down. The entire 10,000 Poison Valley had been destroyed. It had turned into a complete mess. The poisonous gas in the valley had dispersed. The ground was riddled with holes. Countless hideous cracks were spread across every inch of the ground. The ground had collapsed for thousands of feet, turning into a huge abyss. Countless precious poisonous plants had been completely destroyed. It could be said that the 10,000 Poison Valley had been completely destroyed by the poisonous Dragon Emperor's self-destruction. And in the valley, only to see Indra and Peacock lying on the ground. Looking at Indra's body, his black robe was torn to shreds, not even a single piece was left. His naked body was like a broken ceramic, filled with irregular cracks. Countless bloodstains seeped out from the cracks. It looked abnormally hideous and terrifying. The inside of his body was even more miserable. His bones had been crushed into powder and his flesh was filled with countless terrifying poisons that were wildly destroying his flesh. The Imperial Jade Archive in his body was rapidly absorbing the power of the poison from his flesh. The demon residence in his body was filled with vast power. When it overflowed, cracks appeared on his demon meridians. He had suffered unprecedented damage. Phew. Fortunately, lunatic DI, you have a heaven-grade demon residence with amazing capacity. That's why you were able to neutralize the violent power at the critical moment. Otherwise, you would really be finished this time. In Nether Prison, Dark had a look of lingering fear. If he wasn't careful, he would have been torn into countless pieces. How's Peacock? D.I. Shetien could barely move, but his mind was still clear. He hurriedly asked about Peacock's condition. She has the 9 revolutions mysterious art to protect her body. At the last moment, a purple lotus suddenly appeared on her body and helped her block the impact. She suffered less damage than you. TSK, that purple lotus must be something her father left behind for her to protect her body and save her life, Dark said with a strange cry and glanced at the unconscious Peacock on the ground. Not good. An outsider is coming. It's the Witch of Myriad Wonders. Suddenly, Dark's expression changed drastically. Only to see Demonis of Myriad Wonders, who was dressed in black, silently appear beside Sakura and Peacock. A pair of peach blossom eyes looked at Sakura, who was lying on the ground unable to move, with a smile yet not a smile. Chuckling, she said, "Hehe, what a robust demon body. Your Majesty Demon Emperor, this time you will follow this concubine. This concubine will serve you well and guarantee that you will be in ecstasy. Can't stop. Come with me." With that, the Witch of Myriad Wonders chuckled. Her slender fingers suddenly tapped on Di Shitian's body at an astonishing speed. This is the phantom demon pulse-cutting finger. She wants to sever the connection between your flesh and the demon residents. Dark's expression changed drastically. The Witch of Myriad Wonders' eyes looked like they were about to drip water. With a wave of her hand, she put on Di Shitian's clothes and collected the 8 scattered poison pills. Then, she carried him and Peacock on her left and right and quickly flew into the distance. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 775. However, just as she was feeling complacent, the yang energy she absorbed from Di Shitian's body collided with her own yang energy. Di Shitian's originally blurry eyes instantly became clear. His tiger-like eyes carried a trace of dignity without being angry as he coldly shouted, "Yin-Yang Magic Cauldron Grand Art." His body's essence circulated in reverse. In an instant, a yin-yang magic cauldron appeared in his body. It spun violently, and the great Tao of yin and yang intertwined within the cauldron. The combination of yin and yang was the great Tao of heaven and earth. During the collision, traces of pure power of fortune were born. The power of fortune contained the fortune of heaven and earth. It was supreme and mystical. It quickly merged with the demon body. Wherever it went, the demon body's injuries were rapidly healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. The cracks on the demon veins disappeared and were healed in the blink of an eye. Ah! The Witch of Myriad Mystics' originally complacent expression suddenly became frightened. She screamed in horror, "Yin-Yang Magic Cauldron Grand Art. You actually obtained the star-plucking old demon's demonic art." This trace of fear was not fake. She was a witch of the demon god continent and was proficient in harvesting. How could she not know the terror of the Yin-Yang Magic Cauldron Grand Art? It could be said to be the most terrifying demonic art of harvesting in the demon god continent. It was incomparably domineering and naturally countered all kinds of seduction techniques. Once it was used, the woman who was harvested would be turned into a dried husk. If she knew that Di Shitian possessed such a demonic art, she would not have dared to use it on him even if she was beaten to death. With a scream, the Witch of Myriad Mystics' body burst forth with powerful energy, wanting to escape from Di Shitian's body. "Chimph, it's too late to leave now. Today, I will use you as a cauldron to reach the ancient heavenly demon realm and break through the undying body. Since you want to serve me so much, then come with I to experience the most terrifying scene in the world." Di Shitian's heart was incomparably cold. His hands were like steel as he pressed the Witch of Myriad Mystic under him. At the same time, he did not hesitate to circulate the Emperor, shocking the world. His mind stirred the boundless energy of the 10th grade Black Lotus in the Demon Palace. 10th grade Black Lotus, full circle, fear realm, desire realm, demon tribulation, heavenly chasm. His mind immediately activated the boundless power of fear contained within the 10th grade Black Lotus. At the same time, with the help of the yin-yang demonic cauldron grand technique, his lower body was connected to Di Shitian, and his primordial spirit was pulled in. In an instant, the Devil Lady's devil soul was sucked in by a terrifying devouring force. It entered Di Shitian's body and fell into the Demon Palace. Together, they were swept into the realm of desire that was evolved from the power of fear. Rumble. Immediately, countless pitch-black tribulation clouds appeared out of thin air in the sky above the valley. They gathered from all directions like a tide, forming a gigantic and terrifying tribulation cloud. Streaks of terrifying lightning shuttled through the tribulation cloud. The pitch-black tribulation cloud was dyed purple at a speed visible to the naked eye. In an instant, it completely transformed into a purple tribulation cloud. Within the tribulation clouds, countless bolts of purple lightning constantly tore through the void, bombarding and distorting the surrounding space. Crack! A tiny bolt of purple tribulation lightning landed on a mountain peak not far away. With a loud boom, the mountain peak completely collapsed and turned into dust. A single bolt of lightning easily destroyed a mountain peak. Hiss. Ming could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. He said in horror, "Oh my God, this is the 9 heavens purple lightning tribulation. This is a heavenly tribulation that even the ancient giants are somewhat afraid of. Who would have thought that such a terrifying demonic tribulation would appear here?" The 9 heavens purple lightning tribulation nurtured the most terrifying type of tribulation lightning in the world, the purple heavens divine lightning. There were 9 bolts of divine lightning. Moreover, the power of each bolt would be superimposed on the foundation of the first bolt. They kept on rising. When the 9th bolt reached the end, its power would be 9 times that of the first bolt. Its power could reach a terrifying level that could destroy the heavens and earth. Such a heavenly tribulation would not appear unless one was a heaven-defying expert. It was extremely rare to see such a thing. Who would have thought that such a terrifying demonic tribulation would appear during the tribulation in the exiled lands? Swish, swish, swish. Di Shitian attracted the lightning tribulation himself. He could feel the terrifying threat from the heavenly tribulation and naturally activated the extreme emperor indestructible body. Halo of sorrow, halo of joy, halo of taste, halo of wrath. 4 divine halos of immortality emerged from his flesh and blood. His entire body was completely enveloped by the divine halos. Di Shitian, where is this place? What did you do to me? The Witch of Myriad Mysteries looked at the surroundings in horror. Indra and Witch of Myriad Mysteries appeared in a strange space at the same time. Around them, countless pitch-black threads were drifting back and forth in the void. If one were to pay close attention, one would be able to see that within each black thread, there were all sorts of terrifying scenes. Countless frightening scenes were happening continuously. These were all undying obsessions that represented the power of fear. Di Shitian looked at the Witch of Myriad Mysteries indifferently and said, "This is a world of fear. Next, you will thoroughly experience the definition of fear. Slowly enjoy it." At the same time, the countless undying obsessions in the surroundings were like stray cats that smelled blood the moment they saw Sakura and Witch of Myriad Wonders. They quickly wrapped around them from all directions, and in the blink of an eye, they densely covered every inch of their surroundings. Every strand of undying obsessions contained undying fear. The instant they wrapped around their bodies, Di Shitian and the Witch of Myriad Mysteries were each pulled into one of the obsessions. They became the main characters that endured the fear of the obsessions. They experienced everything that happened inside. The 7 emotions and 6 desires. The 6 desires were the easiest to pass. With Di Shitian's temperament, he could easily see through the source of their desires and ultimately control them. However, each of the 7 stages of emotions was filled with endless danger. Back then, when he recklessly attempted to sculpt his meridians, he had almost completely sunk into endless sorrow and was almost consigned to eternal damnation. Later on, when he entered the realm of ecstasy, if not for Chen Shi's help, he would have most likely perished. Each of the 7 emotions represented the peak of a living being's desires. If one didn't have an unimaginably tough mind, it would be almost impossible to break through. Once the realm of ecstasy evolved from each of the 7 emotions started, it was walking on the edge of life and death. One thought was life, and the other was eternal oblivion. Even Di Shitian didn't dare to casually touch on the realm of Huangji shocking the world book. Therefore, previously, after entering the realm of ecstasy, all the demon meridians that he cultivated immediately changed to the 6 desires. He temporarily avoided that terrifying danger. At the same time, he strengthened his control over his desires. However, now that he had completely controlled the 6 desires, he had no choice but to start cultivating the 7 emotions that he had previously avoided. Yin and Yang nurtured all things and gave birth to creation. The yin-yang demonic cauldron gathered the primordial yang and primordial yin, nurturing strands of the power of creation. These strands of power of creation constantly surged into the demon manna. In the void, the tribulation clouds constantly churned, and a vast pressure spread in all directions like a tide. It completely enveloped an area of 1,000 miles under the pressure. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 776. Within a radius of 1,000 miles, all living creatures and ferocious beasts were pressed to the ground by the vast pressure that descended from the sky. It was like the power of the heavens. Even though the ferocious beasts were wild and untamed, they could not help but lie on the ground under the pressure that was filled with the aura of death. Their bodies trembled like sieves. Their heads were pressed to the ground, and their eyes were filled with fear. Even ferocious beasts had to submit to the power of the heavens and earth. The land of exile restricted all kinds of mystiques and dharmic powers. Even dharma treasures could not unleash their power. The heavens and earth were extremely strict, and all beings within this range could only cultivate their physical bodies and physical combat skills. The heavens and earth were filled with carnate yuan qi, but they could not absorb or use it. This was a cage. A prison. However, once one's strength reached a terrifying level, and his body was so strong that he could tear the void apart with his bare hands, he could escape from this prison. 4 ordinary cultivators, unless they reached the pinnacle of the eternal giants. Legendary geniuses, who cultivated peerless body tempering techniques, could tear the void apart when they reached the mid-stage of the eternal giants. Another example would be Sakra. He had fused many different body refinement techniques and absorbed their essence to create the ultimate emperor indestructible body. It had a unique and powerful effect on the refinement of the demon body. Now that he was at the pinnacle of the ancient demon sage, he had condensed 4 indestructible divine rings. His demonic body was so strong that he could fight against eternal giants. He could fight above his level. Once he broke through to the ancient heavenly demon realm and cultivated an indestructible body, even if he had just reached the early stage of the ancient heavenly demon realm, he would be comparable to those at the pinnacle of the ancient heavenly demon realm. He was strong enough to tear the void apart with his bare hands. He could break through the restrictions of the land of exile and escape from this prison. He was such a heaven-defying expert. He wanted to break through in the land of exile. It was a huge threat to the entire land of exile. It was a terrifying provocation. Usually, it was nothing. But now, when he was about to break through from the ancient demon sage to the ancient heavenly demon realm, the heavens and earth in the land of exile began to show its power. The demonic tribulation this time was the 9 heavens purple lightning tribulation, which even heavenly demons were wary of. This was to kill Di Shitian, who had the potential to break through the restrictions of the heavens and earth, in one fell swoop. Destroy all threats in the bud. The brewing of the demonic tribulation instantly attracted the attention of all the experts in the banished land. Within the Danhuang Palace in the city of exile, a green-robed old man suddenly stood up from his futon. He walked out of the palace and raised his head to look in the direction of the 10,000 Poison Valley. There was a look of surprise between his brows. Dao Enyu and Sword Enyu's natal spirit lamps were extinguished not long ago. I sent them to the 10,000 Poison Valley to wait for an opportunity to kill the Demon Emperor. It seems that they have already met with misfortune. Could it be that someone is undergoing a tribulation? Could it be that the Demon Emperor is undergoing a tribulation to break through to the ancient heavenly demon realm? He pondered in his mind, feeling bewildered. He waved his sleeves and said, "You 2 pieces of trash. You can't even handle such a small matter. It seems like I still need to personally take action. If he is really undergoing the tribulation, I will personally kill this monster." A resolute expression appeared on his kind face. He turned around and left the Danhuang Palace. With a shake of his body, he transformed into a mystical bird and flew into the distance. At the same time, many experts in the city of exile sensed something. They transformed into various types of birds and rushed in the direction of the demonic tribulation. Some of them wanted to see who was transcending the tribulation, while others had other motives. At this moment, a dark palace stood in a secluded corner of the city of exile. Around the palace, military camps stood tall. A large number of soldiers were wearing dark armor and holding huge, sharp, black sickles in their hands. They were waving the sickles over and over again, making various offensive moves. They were training again and again. On their faces, there was a cold black mask that could only cover half of their faces. Naturally, there was a gloomy and deathly aura exuding from their bodies. It was as if they were the Grim Reaper in the darkness. Around them, even the air had become unusually oppressive. Around them, no one was willing to enter this area. Looking at the palace, there were a few ancient seals that appeared, God of Death's palace. In the palace, there was a black-robed man with a simple, pitch-black mask on his face. There was a slender scythe in front of his knees. One could clearly see the countless sharp, pitch-black teeth on the scythe. Vaguely, a strange aura radiated from his body. The aura seemed to contain a kind of demon chi that only diamonds would have. It also seemed to be somewhat heterogeneous and did not seem to be pure. A half-demon. Only a half-demon could have such an aura. It was a unique existence that was born from the union of the demon clan and the human clan. Whoosh! The man slowly opened his eyes and looked up at the void. He said in surprise, "This is the aura of the demon clan." Someone from the demon clan is undergoing the tribulation. It seems like he wants to break through to the ancient heavenly demon realm. However, in the land of exile, there are only a few demons who have the ability to become a heavenly demon. However, undergoing the tribulation is extremely dangerous. Unless it is absolutely necessary and they are not certain of success, they will not undergo the tribulation. Could it be that the demon king is undergoing the tribulation? After a moment of silence, he suddenly stood up and flew out of the palace. Modu. The dragon demon crown prince coldly looked at the location of the heavenly tribulation and coldly said, "The location of the tribulation is near the 10,000 Poison Valley. The Witch of Myriad Wonders is there. Could it be that something has happened? The demon clan, there is a demon clan undergoing the tribulation. Men, immediately inform the 7 fiends demon sovereign. This crown prince wants to see who has the guts to break through in the land of exile." Not long after, several figures riding on demonic dragons flew out of Modu. In the land of desire, one could see that Di Shetien and the Witch of Myriad Wonders were both in a strange void. Strands of inextinguishable obsession drilled into the body. This was a kind of test that the realm of desire had for the newcomer. It made the newcomer experience all kinds of illusions within the inextinguishable obsession. Each illusion was the most frightening scene, and one's mind would be pulled in and be tested. Don't. The Witch of Myriad Mystic's face was filled with intense fear as she let out terrified screams from time to time. Her body was violently trembling. However, Sakra's state of mind was calm and incomparably tenacious. In addition, the extreme monarch tyrant heart secrets that he had condensed using various techniques to protect his state of mind had protected a little bit of clarity in his heart. All kinds of illusions were broken one after another. Every time he broke through an illusion, the perception of fear would also slowly integrate into his state of mind. Comprehending the true meaning of fear. Fear was an emotion that all intelligent beings in the world would have. It was a strong psychological or physical reaction caused by unpredictable factors in the surroundings. It was a natural reaction when encountering a terrifying threat. No one could avoid it. Even a peerless expert might not be able to avoid the feeling of fear at the moment of their death. Not only were the illusions created by the undying obsessions unable to truly threaten Di Shetien, but it also allowed him to have a deeper understanding of fear bit by bit. Slowly, perhaps an instant, perhaps millions of years. His eyes that were originally filled with fear gradually regained clarity. It's time for me to truly enter the realm of fear. Only by personally experiencing it can I completely comprehend the true meaning of fear and transcend it. I will never be affected by fear and will be able to control it. Come. Di Shetien looked at the Witch of Myriad Wonders, who was still immersed in fear, and coldly laughed as he shouted into the void without any fear. Suddenly, the surroundings became grotesque and variegated. The boundless power of fear instantly evolved into a strange illusory realm, and in an instant, it pulled him into the illusory realm. What was even more frightening was that the boundless power of desire immediately sealed the memories in his mind. Entering the illusion was like going through a rebirth. No other power could help him. In the illusion, he truly had to rely on himself to comprehend the boundless true meaning of fear. When Di Shitian truly entered the illusion, the 4 undying divine rings around him began to revolve crazily. The boundless undying obsessions and true dragon purple chi between heaven and earth continuously flowed into the undying divine rings. In the void above his head, the dark purple tribulation cloud had already condensed to the point that it seemed to become solid. Countless bolts of purple lightning flashed wildly in the void. A boundless pressure covered the entire area. Crack! Within the purple tribulation cloud, a bucket-sized bolt of purple tribulation lightning suddenly descended and directly struck towards Di Shitian. The tribulation lightning contained the will of heaven and earth. Destruction. It destroyed all threats. This was the terrifying purple heaven lightning. Di Shitian was still subconsciously moving around the Witch of Myriad Wonders' body. He automatically used the yin-yang demonic cauldron technique to replenish her primordial yin. The 4 undying divine rings around him protected the Witch of Myriad Wonders as well. Bang! The purple heaven lightning instantly crossed the boundaries of the void at an astonishing speed and directly struck Di Shitian's body. However, it was blocked by the 4 undying divine rings around him. The ring of wrath flickered with a dense purple-gold divine light and was locked in a stalemate with the lightning. However, this divine ring wasn't fully completed and was the weakest of the 4. In just a few moments, the purple heaven lightning shattered it and completely dissipated. As it dissipated, it also destroyed the first bolt of purple heaven lightning at the same time. Although the ring of wrath wasn't fully completed, it was still able to block an all-out attack from an ancient demon sage. However, it was destroyed at the same time as the purple heaven lightning. From this, one could see how powerful the purple heaven lightning was. Crack! After the first bolt of purple heaven lightning struck, a second bolt of lightning that was even more resplendent and condensed than the previous one came crashing down. The purple heaven lightning was unstoppable. The ring of wrath was instantly destroyed by the purple heaven lightning. The purple heaven lightning and the divine ring were destroyed at the same time. Rumble! The third bolt of purple heaven lightning struck again. This bolt of purple heaven lightning was 3 times stronger than the first bolt. The terrifying force instantly destroyed the remaining 2 undying divine rings and the remaining tribulation lightning struck the demon sage's body. In an instant, the demon sage's body was destroyed by the tribulation lightning. Countless cracks appeared on every inch of his skin like a spider web and purple gold blood seeped out from them. Countless destructive bolts of tribulation lightning continued to drill into his flesh through his wounds. They wanted to destroy Di Shitian's demon sage's body. They wanted to destroy him. However, at this moment, the strands of creation power that came from the yin-yang demonic cauldron suddenly moved. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 777. Haha, good. Lunatic Di, you really have great luck. It seems that the remaining luck of the demon clan is all connected to you. I originally planned to use the sacred sacrifice again and burn my divine soul to help you withstand this demon tribulation. I didn't expect that you would use the yin-yang demonic cauldron grand technique to absorb the primordial yin of the Witch of Myriad Wonders. The power of fortune derived from it has such a miraculous effect. Old demon Jiaxing, TSK, I will treat you well. In the nether prison, Dark was originally determined to use the sacred sacrifice again when Di Shitian couldn't withstand the tribulation lightning. Suddenly, he couldn't help but laugh wildly in surprise. Each bolt of purple heavenly lightning was stronger than the previous one. Once it reached the 9th bolt, even gods and demons would perish. No matter how strong Di Shitian's demon body was, he hadn't cultivated the immortal body. His mind was also immersed in the realm of desire. If there were no accidents, he would be blasted into powder by the purple heavenly lightning in the end. Not even dregs would be left. Dark was well aware of how terrifying the heavenly tribulation was. However, when he saw the third bolt of purple heavenly lightning completely destroy the immortal divine rings derived from the immortal body, he knew that Shitian wouldn't be able to withstand the next bolt of purple heavenly lightning. Just as he was about to perform the sacred sacrifice, he saw the power of fortune nurtured by yin and yang suddenly enter his body. The power of fortune contained the true essence of life and the mystery of heaven and earth. Wherever it went, the flesh that was destroyed by the tribulation lightning healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, it was completely healed. Even the power of the purple heavenly lightning was refined into his flesh. In the blink of an eye, the countless cracks on his demon body were completely healed. The immortal body of the Emperor was automatically activated. The 4 immortal divine rings that were destroyed were born again, crushing his flesh inch by inch. In the blink of an eye, his demon body was completely refined, and his demon body became even stronger. There was a great fortune in dual cultivation. The Witch of Myriad Wonders had originally planned to plunder Shitian's yang energy to further improve her demonic arts, but she had never expected that she would become the greatest benefactor of Shitian's heavenly tribulation. If he knew, his nose would probably be crooked from anger on the spot. Crack. As if it knew that Shitian's injuries had disappeared, the tribulation clouds in the sky were completely enraged. They rolled violently, and a vast pressure pressed down like a tide, causing the space to distort. The 4th heavenly thunder of purple clouds struck down. It smashed into his body. The 4 indestructible divine rings were destroyed in the blink of an eye. The terrifying divine thunder blasted countless hideous wounds on the spot. One of his arms was instantly turned to dust. However, the miraculous thing was that the power of creation in his body was endless. The moment the wounds appeared, they immediately drilled into them and rapidly healed them. Even his arm, which had been reduced to powder, grew back in an instant. It was as good as new. When Dark saw this, even his eyes narrowed. With the protection of the power of creation, as long as you don't instantly turn into dust, no one can completely kill you at this moment. Now, let's see if you can pass the test of the realm of desire. Compared to the heavenly tribulation, the realm of desire was the most terrifying one. If one couldn't break through it, they would sink forever. The heavenly tribulation was easy to block, but the realm of desire was difficult to pass. Ding dong. In a pavilion in the fairy lake in the demon city. The melodious sound of a zither reverberated in the air. The sound of the zither exuded a strong sense of longing, as if a wife was silently waiting for her husband to return from afar. The sound of the zither lingered in the air. Suddenly, the sound of the zither stopped. Sister, why did the zither string break? Could it be that the fetus in your womb is moving around again? In the pavilion, Zhu was sitting with her jade-like arms supporting her chin, listening to the sound of the zither. Bai Hu was also sitting calmly beside her. In the main seat was the pregnant Chen Shi. Chen Shi's belly had already begun to bulge, and her body was overflowing with a motherly radiance. The flesh and blood between her and Shitian was about to be born. However, at this moment, there was a zither in front of her. If one looked closely at this zither, they would find that it was given to her by Shitian when they were in the southern wilderness. However, one of the strings on the zither broke silently. A broken zither string must be ominous. Shitian is in danger. Chen Shi and Tian Xiong said at the same time. They looked at each other and saw the grave and worried expression on each other's faces. Brother-in-law is in danger. When Zhu heard this, she couldn't help but exclaim, I heard from the demon soldiers who returned from the blood altar that brother-in-law is now in the land of exile. There are many fierce beasts and demon gods there. Could it be that those demon gods want to murder brother-in-law? Her small face was full of anger. Chen Shi's eyes quickly changed various expressions. After a moment of silence, she finally said, Shitian is the emperor of our demon clan. I believe that no matter what difficulties he encounters, he will eventually overcome them one by one. Now, the most important thing for us is to immediately select the elites from all the demon clans and send them to the land of exile to train them into an army. Now, all the worlds in the heavens must be spying on our demon city. No matter what, we can't panic. Her eyes flashed with a determined look, and there was a firm belief in her heart. She knew that the only thing she could do now was to stabilize everything in the city. She believed that her husband was not someone who would die so easily. This belief was incomparably firm. At the same time, 1,000 miles away from where Di Shitian was undergoing his tribulation, a green-robed elder instantly landed on a towering mountain peak that was thousands of feet high. He looked at the valley that was covered by the tribulation clouds. The purple tribulation clouds had covered everything inside. It was impossible to see what was happening inside. However, in his deep eyes, he seemed to have confirmed a certain guess. In the land of exile, there is only one person with an aura that I am not familiar with that can reach such a realm and reach such a level. The 9 heavens purple thunder tribulation. Even if you can overcome it, I will send you on your last journey. Dan Huang's eyes were filled with a thick gloominess. The Dream Demon King's sudden announcement that those who settled in Heavenly Pillar City could receive a longevity pill every day had already caused a considerable impact on the city of exile. His killing intent towards Di Shitian had completely risen. Sakra's existence was a kind of provocation to his position, a kind of threat. At this moment, Dan Huang could not help but look to the south. He saw a 3-foot-long red-haired boy wearing a red doo-doo singing in a childish voice. Below him was a snow-white crane that was incomparably mystical, carrying him from afar. The world is drunk, but I am the only one sober. Fine wine is for me to taste. How many heroic deeds since ancient times are not as good as a cup of wine in a pot? The boy's drunken eyes were blurred. When he saw Dan Huang, he chuckled. Old man Dan Huang, aren't you usually refining pills in your Dan Huang palace? Why are you interested in coming out? Could it be that this tribulation has something to do with you? As he spoke, he sized up the tribulation clouds in the sky with great interest. He clicked his tongue and said, "What a guy, it's actually the 9 heavens purple lightning tribulation. This tribulation is yet another heaven-defying expert. If he really manages to overcome it, that would be incredible. When did such a monster appear in the land of exile? He's even more arrogant than this old man." His eyes narrowed into thin slits. He carefully sized up the tribulation clouds. Treasure of many treasures, this monster undergoing tribulation has enmity with I. Don't recklessly interfere later. Just treat it as me owing you a favor. When I return, I'll refine a furnace of good pills and send them to your treasure pavilion. Dan Huang said in a low voice. At this moment, a cold snort spread in the air. Death God, it's you. The alchemy sovereign's pupils contracted violently. He saw a masked man with a pitch-black sickle on his back flying through the air. TSK, today is really interesting. Even you, Death God, are here. However, it seems that this is not the end of the fun. Even Shanghai wants to join in. Interesting, really interesting. The tribulation has attracted so many old friends to come and watch the ceremony. To be honest, this old man is very curious about this person undergoing tribulation. Treasure of many treasures boy sat on the red-crowned crane and poured the wine in the pot into his throat. As his voice fell, the vast demonic body of the 10,000-foot-long demonic dragon quickly broke through the air in the distance. On the demonic dragon's body, the dragon demon crown prince, the 7 baleful demon venerables, and a demoness with a cold expression and a heartless aura appeared. At the same time, experts from all directions faintly rushed over from all directions. Each of them stood in a different direction, faintly revealing a vigilant expression. Many of them even emitted a faint hostility between them. However, none of them dared to step within 1,000 miles of the valley. This area was covered by the tribulation clouds. Once they entered, they would immediately be regarded as the target of the tribulation and would be swept into the tribulation on the spot. The 9 heavens purple lightning tribulation was a terrifying tribulation that even the ancient giants did not dare to touch lightly. Silence. Waiting. More and more experts gathered in the valley. However, everyone's gaze was quietly waiting for the tribulation to end. Faintly, even the air became abnormally oppressive. It was as if this was a terrible omen before a storm. Whoosh. However, not far away, in a hidden mountain wall, a small hole silently appeared. In the hole, a palm-sized mouse poked its head out and looked into the distance. It quickly shrank back. In the blink of an eye, it quickly sealed the hole. His Majesty is in danger. I must immediately send news back to Heaven Pillar City. Someone is plotting against His Majesty the Demon Emperor. When it came to intelligence, Big Mouse could be considered a genius. The mouse tribe was born to be the gods of intelligence. With their ability to dig holes, they were able to dig out countless crisscrossing tunnels. Through these tunnels, they were able to monitor what was happening in every inch of the area. Just now, the underground network had been connected to this place. It was also by chance that they were able to find out what was happening. In an instant, the news was transmitted to Heaven Pillar City at an unimaginable speed. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support legal reading. Chapter 778. What? His Majesty the Demon King is undergoing a tribulation, and there are many experts who want to harm him. Shu Da received the news in an instant, and without any hesitation, he quickly sent the message to the Dream Demon King. Order the Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, and Black Tortoise legions to head to the 10,000 Poison Valley to protect His Majesty. Azura Kill, Emperor Assassin, head there as fast as you can. Shue Shu, immediately dispatch the Heaven Battalion to meet the enemy. The moment they received the news, orders were quickly passed down to the entire Heavenly Pillar City. In an instant, the demon army charged out of the city and rushed towards the tribulation clouds. The entire city was filled with cold killing intent. Crack! The seventh bolt of purple heaven divine lightning struck down and smashed onto the Sakra's body. The 4 undying divine rings were instantly destroyed, and even the upper half of his body was blasted into smithereens at the same time. However, under the power of creation, the body that was blasted into smithereens grew back at a speed visible to the naked eye. At the same time, the 4th immortal divine ring, the Ring of Wrath, emitted a purplish golden divine light that became more and more intense. It was so condensed that it was almost tangible. Within it, the boundless inextinguishable will of wrath gathered crazily, and indistinct roars of rage could be heard. This Ring of Wrath had already reached its peak, and it was about to enter the state of great completion. Rumble. The immortal divine ring was constantly being regenerated. Every time it was regenerated, there would always be traces of the power of creation that would fuse into the divine ring, causing it to become even more mystical. However, the purple heaven heavenly lightning was too overbearing. When the 8th bolt of purple heaven heavenly lightning struck, the Demon King's body was still unable to withstand it. The demon's body was still unable to withstand the attack and was destroyed on the spot. Only a head and a purple gold heart were left. Under such circumstances, ordinary cultivators would most likely die in an instant. However, Di Shitian was able to regenerate his entire body at a speed visible to the naked eye under the power of creation. The 9 purple heaven heavenly lightning strikes is about to reach the last bolt. You must block it. As long as there is even a drop of essence blood left, under the power of fortune, you will be able to reconstruct your monster body. Dark muttered nervously. As long as he could withstand the last tribulation lightning, the demonic tribulation this time would be considered over. As long as he could awaken from the state of desire and break through, he would be able to break through to the ancient heavenly demon realm with the help of the tribulation power. What a guy! Which heaven-defying expert is going through the heavenly tribulation? Under the heavenly thunder of purple heaven, he actually managed to survive till the 8th strike. If he survives the heavenly tribulation, I'm afraid a heaven-defying ancient heavenly demon will be born in this banished land. Legend has it that after the heaven-defying level experts have passed the tribulation, they have the powerful combat strength to tear the void and leave the banished land. However, they are usually very weak at that time. It is said that the rules of the banished land will temporarily disappear, and they can use divine powers, magic arts, and magic treasures. As long as you kill them, This world will give you a reward. Even an ancient giant could instantly raise his cultivation by a small realm. It was possible to obtain eternal life in the exiled land. There were even innate spirit embryos. However, the release of the rules seems to only last for an hour. Once he passes, even the banished land will have to admit that he has the heaven-defying qualifications. After the heavenly tribulation, it will be the human tribulation. I'm afraid there will be an earth-shattering battle soon. Such a heaven-defying expert has not been born in the banished land for many years. Looking at the vast coercion emitted by the tribulation cloud, the whispers of discussion continued to spread. The most shocking thing was that when such an expert who had the ability to leave the banished land was born, the banished land would actually temporarily release the shackles of heaven and earth to kill him. This was the killing intent of heaven and earth. Crack! The tribulation cloud rolled violently, and finally, a heavenly thunder of purple heaven struck down. The heavenly thunder was like a purple thunder dragon, roaring and rushing down from the void. Everywhere it passed, the void was annihilated inch by inch. It completely collapsed and collapsed violently. This terrible scene made the faces of Dan Huang, boy of many treasures, and the other onlookers change. The destructive power contained in the tribulation thunder made even them feel the breath of death. Rumble. The purple lightning dragon instantly pounced onto Sakra's body, and the 4 indestructible divine rings instantly crumbled before its sharpness. At the same time, the Witch of Myriad Mystics' demonic body was blasted into smithereens. Fortunately, the demonic arts and primordial yin within her body were all plucked away. Then, countless purple lightning bolts filled every inch of the void. The water in the hot spring turned into nothingness in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, the surrounding mountains and the entire valley were turned into dust by the tribulation thunder that exploded like a spiderweb. Even the cave where the peacock was in was destroyed, revealing the peacock's body. However, the peacock was protected by a strange purple lotus throne, which blocked all the tribulation thunder outside. It did not harm the peacock at all. The violent purple tribulation thunder covered the entire sky. For a moment, the onlookers could not see what was happening inside. Whoosh! The tribulation clouds that filled the sky left just as quickly as they came. In the blink of an eye, they strangely disappeared without a trace. At the same time, the valley under the heavenly tribulation was completely revealed to the onlookers. The valley had been completely razed to the ground, and there was only a terrifying crater that was thousands of feet wide in the middle. There was not a single figure in it. The onlookers were in an uproar. What a terrifying purple heaven lightning! Each strike is stronger than the last. It has a terrifying power that can destroy heaven and earth. There is not a single living thing in the valley. Could it be that the demon who just went through the tribulation was blown to smithereens by the tribulation thunder and died? What a pity! It was an expert with heaven-defying potential. How many years has it been since someone broke through the void in the land of exile? No, look. Why is there a heart and an eye in the crater? Look, there is a change. Just as the onlookers thought that the person who went through the tribulation was completely dead, someone with sharp eyes pointed to the crater in horror. In the crater, there was a purple-gold divine eye that was emitting a strange divine light. There was also a purple-gold heart that was strangely suspended in mid-air. Thump! The heart suddenly rose and fell violently. Suddenly, a mysterious power emerged from the heart. Then, 13 demon veins rapidly grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. Purple gold bones condensed in the void, and flesh grew on the bones. In the blink of an eye, a majestic demon body was formed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Strands of dazzling divine light flickered on the demon body. Every inch of flesh exuded a supreme power that could suppress the surroundings. Whoosh! Just at that moment, Sakra's eyes that were originally tightly shut suddenly opened. 2 terrifying rays of light directly shot out 100 feet away, piercing through the void and creating 2 terrifying big holes. 4 immortal divine rings were formed from the flesh. Endless sadness, anger, great joy, and a strange fragrance spread out in all directions in an instant. Ha ha, crazy emperor, the 4th level of the immortal emperor body is complete. Quickly, Use the remaining power of creation in the flesh to cultivate the 5th level and achieve the immortal body. Dark shouted excitedly. Sakra's eyes were deep and unfathomable, devoid of joy or sorrow. He had awoken from the state of lust. In his mind, all kinds of feelings towards fear flowed like a clear spring. In the demon manor, all the barriers of the 10th grade Black Lotus were instantly destroyed, completely fusing together, becoming one. On the Black Lotus, a new grade was naturally born. An 11th grade Black Lotus appeared. The space in the Black Lotus instantly expanded by 10 times. The original Immortal Emperor True Force only occupied 1/10 of the Black Lotus. However, at this moment, the Immortal Emperor True Force in the Black Lotus seemed to have undergone a miraculous transformation. Every strand of True Force contained a supreme will. Any drop of Immortal Emperor will could crush a person to death. The Immortal Emperor will could cause a person to fall into a boundless illusion of desire. If the True Force in the past was dead, then it was alive now. The power of the attack was getting stronger and stronger. The 10th volume of the Immortal Emperor Shocking the World was complete. He had officially entered the 11th volume. Outside his body, the halo of wrath that had not been completed was now like the previous 3. It was so condensed that it was almost solid and emitted a glazed divine light. Inside it, a Holy Spirit with a face full of anger stood proudly. The 4th Immortal Divine Ring was complete. Now, Di Shitian was half a step away from becoming an eternal giant. As long as he cultivated the immortal body, he would immediately become an eternal giant. I'm afraid that some people might not let me step into the immortal body. Di Shitian's mind moved, and a black robe instantly wrapped around his body. His entire body rose into the air and stood in mid-air. He looked up at the sky and said coldly, "The shackles of heaven and earth have disappeared. This is the will of heaven and earth in the land of exile that wants to kill me. It wants to borrow an external force to kill me again." The terrifying shackles of heaven and earth had mysteriously disappeared. Even the heaven and earth Yuan Qi was released from the shackles and could be freely absorbed. There was no longer any violent foreign force in the Yuan Qi. The shackles of heaven and earth were released after he passed the heavenly tribulation. A large number of experts appeared around him. Almost in an instant, they figured out the plan of heaven and earth clearly in their minds. Ha ha, kill him. Heaven and earth has promised that the one who kills the demon emperor will be able to leave the land of exile. Leave this cage. The one who kills the demon emperor will gain eternal life and the innate spiritual embryo. Although the demon emperor is strong, he has just passed the heavenly tribulation and has not even achieved the immortal body. The immortal body can only be cultivated with the power of creation. The heavenly tribulation did not send down the holy light of creation. He must be at his weakest now. Everyone, work together and kill him. It was as if the will of heaven and earth in the land of exile had promised something in an instant. Many of the experts' eyes instantly lit up. This was the will of heaven and earth. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.